Chapter 82. After a week of intensive training, Toru Watanabe still didn't see a single member of the resistance army in the activity room. There was also no news of new members being recruited on the bulletin board of the club building. Rin Kiyono's teaching skills were very high, but because she was too straightforward and strict, she became more and more hated by the people in the wind department. Toru Watanabe moved the oboe away from his mouth and turned the page of the music sheet. Before practicing the next long note, he opened his mouth and asked Kaoru Hayami, "Hayami-senpai, can I ask you a question?" Kaoru Hayami replied with her gentle voice, her hand writing something on the music sheet. "Those people, why did they refuse to train?" Kaoru Hayami looked up at Toru Watanabe in confusion. "Kiyono classmate didn't tell you." "She didn't." Toru Watanabe thought for a moment and remembered a break this week. "But the people in the base department told me, but I wasn't interested at the time, so I didn't listen carefully." Watanabe classmate's personality is really bad. Kaoru Hayami chuckled. "I'm a very single-minded person, so I don't care about things that I'm not interested in. I'm talking about the fact that you didn't listen carefully." That. Toru Watanabe couldn't explain. He couldn't say that he was attracted by Rin Kiyono's long hair at that time, right? He admitted that he wasn't a person who was honest on the outside, and didn't have the habit of telling the truth like Rin Kiyono. But even Rin Kiyono wouldn't answer all questions honestly. "I'm sorry." He sincerely apologized. "Don't apologize to me, apologize to the base section." Hajime Kaoru gently lectured and told Toru Watanabe about what happened with the trumpet section. The reason was simple. Those who refused to participate in the training felt that it was shameful to be coached by a junior like Rin Kiyono. After Rin Kiyono's superb performance, not only did this mentality not subside, but it also intensified. The jealousy of humans. Also, the level of the special performance department was very low. If they entered the Tokyo University tournament under her guidance, their results would be considered Kanagawa high schools. But in school, would they be considered part of the special performance department or part of the human observation department? There are all kinds of people in the world. Toru Watanabe sighed. They'd rather be decadent to the end than accept help from people who are younger than them or people they hate. They're everywhere. Shoo. Kaoru Hayami gently placed his index finger on his lips. Some of the members of the wind department are still in contact with those who have left. Don't spread bad rumors. Don't worry, I know. Toru Watanabe nodded. In order to become stronger, he didn't mind learning from people who weren't as good as him or people he hated. But he didn't force his own values onto others, which was one of his rules of survival. But his starting point wasn't any kind of noble character. Rather, it was an ordinary person's mentality that other people's business has nothing to do with me. The sound of rain could be heard outside the window. The honeymoon period between the Mayu season and Tokyo was still ongoing. Sweat was stuck to the window. Toru Watanabe put the whistle in his mouth and breathed in. The instrument slowly produced a long note that was still out of tune. The matter with the wind department was very troublesome. The chances of Rin Kiyono unlocking the Miko costume were much higher. He thought about the master-level photography in the mall. Before disbanding at 6 o'clock, Rin Kiyono informed all the wind department that they would perform their first ensemble in the evening. The members of the base department were eating dinner in the training room. Mayasahi and Asako Hanada brought their own lunchboxes. Aoi Ichiki bought sandwiches and juice from the convenience store. Everyone else had rice balls of various flavors. Looks like our basic training has reached the standard. That's great. Aoi Ichiki cheered while holding a sandwich. Maybe it's because the scheduled performance is coming up, so we have no choice but to perform together. Asako Hanada picked up an egg with her chopsticks. No, that's impossible, right? What do you think about Milady's personality? A member of the tuba department said. Thinking about Rin Kiyono's strict attitude, Aoi Ichiki said helplessly. Okay. But as long as we can perform together, it's fine. I'm so annoyed with the constant basic training. Senior Mai, what do you think? Both are fine. Aoi Ichiki was already used to Mayasahi's indifference, so she said to herself, everyone has been working very hard during this period of time. When we perform together, I'm sure Kiyono-san will be shocked. I'm really looking forward to it. Asako Hanada nodded cutely. When Toru Watanabe returned to the music room after the break, he saw that many people were shifting their seats. The woodwinds were in the front, while the brass instruments were in the back. The percussion instruments were in the corner to ensure that everyone could see the conductor. Toru Watanabe didn't want to participate in the ensemble. As a newbie, he couldn't even steadily play a long note, let alone play according to the score. The oboe was simply too difficult. Since he didn't want to participate, according to his personality, he should have stayed in the training room to practice. However, this was his first time performing together after a long period of basic training under Rin Kiyono's guidance. He wanted to listen to their performance from the side. It was almost July. If they didn't make any significant progress, Kamikawa Yukabu would almost directly give up on the Tokyo University competition. At 7 o'clock, Rin Kiyono stepped into the music room on time. She placed the documents in her hands on the table and looked around at everyone. Start tuning. Niwa-san, sorry to trouble you. Yes. Niwa Yuki was the first clarinet student. After the clarinet played a note, the other instruments followed her lead. In the absence of the oboe, the task of tuning was also given to the clarinet. After a simple period of basic training, Rin Kiyono raised her baton. 1 2 1 2 3 4. As soon as she finished her cold voice, the percussion instruments immediately began to play. The rhythm gradually rose, and the brass instruments followed, making an imposing sound. Then came the woodwinds. Everyone followed the baton and played their roles step by step. The music exuded a vigorous vitality. Toru Watanabe felt as if he could see a line of honor guards. It was incredible. They had improved so much in such a short time. Just like Toru Watanabe, the members of the trumpet section were happily discussing with each other after the performance. Not bad. It was very smooth. It felt like a performance. Wow. There was no sound this time. If I want to do it, I should be able to. Toru Watanabe looked towards the commander's seat, but Seino Rin didn't seem satisfied at all. Saxophone, she said. Miss, are you going to praise us? The girl in the saxophone section smiled and replied. Who was off tune? Stand up. Rin Kiyono said coldly. The atmosphere suddenly became cold. The music room was so quiet that the sound of the tram could be heard in the distance. Toru Watanabe held his breath. My dear minister, you should at least praise us before you ask questions. Toru Watanabe thought helplessly. I've never heard of it before. You want both a whip and candy? A girl whispered. What's wrong with her? She's so arrogant. She's obviously improved a lot. She's just used to preaching. We have to prove that we're not as good as her. Under Rin Kiyono's cold gaze, the saxophone section was as silent as a pool of stagnant water. Starting from verse 7, she turned the music sheet to the front and said, play the saxophone sections one by one. Hiss. Many people in the room gasped. Those who were still talking about it also shut their mouths, but their eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. Mayama-sen, you first. Before Rin Kiyono could finish her sentence, a girl in the saxophone section lowered her head and raised her hand high. Rin Kiyono glanced at her and said, Kitahara, I hope that you won't practice anything else until you don't go off tune. Yes. Trombone. The people in the trombone section immediately held their breaths. Toru Watanabe noticed that Yoshimi Tamamo's eyes were unblinkingly waiting for Rin Kiyono to continue. Verse 162. You have to raise your voice a bit and be more agile. Yes. The entire trombone section breathed a sigh of relief. Although there was a problem with the entire section, it was much better than being singled out. Yoshimi Tamamo put the trombone on the ground, picked up a red pen, and wrote down Rin Kiyono's words on the music sheet. Itsuki. Yes. Aoi Ichiki instantly straightened her back. Can you do it without dragging tomorrow's classmate down? Rin Kiyono completely ignored the friendship between the two of them. If the next practice is still at this level, I'll consider only letting tomorrow's classmate play a solo. Aoi Ichiki's face turned pale. Next, Rin Kiyono repeated the other 8 sections except for the oboe and bassoon. The cheerful atmosphere of the performance suddenly disappeared in the night, and the rain brought a chill. Even the observing members of Group B subconsciously kept quiet. At 9 o'clock, the ensemble practice ended, and everyone tacitly cancelled today's study session. Rin Kiyono locked the door of the Human Observation Department's activity classroom and said to Toru Watanabe, who was waiting at the door, "You don't have to send me off today." Okay. The two of them changed their shoes, went out of the school gate, and sat on the bench on the platform to wait for the tram. Is this really okay? What? After all, you're not a real consultant. If you're too strict, it'll cause a backlash sooner or later, and you'll be hated. Toru Watanabe didn't say one more thing. There were so many people in the music section, and there would always be someone who liked to talk nonsense. Soon, Rin Kiyono's image in the school would plummet, and he would be ignored, criticized, and so on. I don't care. Kiyono. Toru Watanabe looked at the lit vending machine in the dark. Maintaining basic interpersonal relationships can make things go smoothly. It's the same with strength. Toru Watanabe smiled helplessly. You're really stubborn. I call this stubbornness. Are you copying me? Toru Watanabe turned his head. Rin Kiyono brushed her long hair that was messed up by the wind and said with a smile, "You don't think that you're the only one who secretly learns other people's strengths, right? Although whether this counts as a strength or not is still up for debate. You're really amazing." Toru Watanabe looked into her eyes. I found it a little slow, but my tolerance is as deep as the Thousand Islands Trench, so forgive your slowness. I'm talking about your persistence in not lying, and your lack of interpersonal relationships. Toru Watanabe looked at the vending machine again. This is my biggest strength. I like myself very much. Rin Kiyono's tone was extremely frank, without the slightest hesitation. The cheap and bright light of the vending machine attracted countless moths and unknown insects. There were few people who had a good relationship with each other, but even if they didn't like each other, almost everyone would squeeze out a smile. It was a bit like a rice ball that wasn't completely heated in a microwave, hot on the outside and cold on the inside. Toru Watanabe truly admired Rin Kiyono. Living like her was definitely a painful thing for ordinary people. He didn't intend to persuade her, because, I also like this about you. You finally fell in love with me? I've only used 12 methods. I mean, I admire your personality, Toru Watanabe said in a huff. You're a hard man to deal with. Rin Kiyono sighed helplessly. Sometimes it's cuter to follow a human's instinctive desires. I never knew that a human's instinctive desire was to fall in love with you. Just then, the tram rolled into the station, bringing with it a cool breeze. Kiyono. Yes. You owe me a witch costume. What nonsense are you talking about again? I might not be able to stop lying in this lifetime, but I can protect the only person who won't lie. Again? The transformation password this time is 666? Or 444? The transformation password this time is real, so I won't tell you, Toru Watanabe said with a smile. You're not lying? Rin Kiyono was shocked. She frowned and thought. Watanabe, you really need to go to the psychiatry department to have your head checked. My family's sanatorium can let you stay for free. We'll talk about this when I'm old. Toru Watanabe walked into the last carriage before the tram door closed. The tram carried him into the darkness. Used intelligence exchange coupon to exchange for 1 intelligence. Intelligence exchange coupon used, deducted 30,000 points. Toru Watanabe used the intelligence exchange coupon that was given to him by Miki Kujo this month. It was worth 100,000 points of intelligence, but it only cost 30,000 points. Please select a specific specialty. Philosophy, logic, religion, ethics, literature, Chinese literature, sign language translation, Sango language, Slovenian, physics, nuclear physics, energy chemistry, astronomy, space science and technology, disaster prevention and mitigation science and engineering, engineering, vehicle engineering, welding technology and engineering, artificial intelligence, city underground space engineering, medicine, maternal and child health, acupuncture and massage, Chinese herb cultivation and identification, agronomy, pesticides and fertilizers, gardening, aquaculture, military science. Windows popped up crazily in the tram like a computer infected with a virus. It was useless even if he closed his eyes. Toru Watanabe almost fainted. This stupid system wasn't smart at all. He quickly shrank it. He slightly eased the dizziness and forgot all the information that he saw just now. Toru Watanabe found art studies in a long section of the table of contents. When he clicked on it, an even longer section appeared. Art theory, music, dance, drama, film, art, design. He clicked on music, and the directory popped up again. Voice singing, keyboard, various ethnic instruments, orchestral instruments, conducting, duets, choral singing, piano, music theory, solfeggio, world music history, traditional music theory, essay writing, harmony, polyphony, musical form. He clicked on orchestral instrument performance and conducting, and the directory popped up again. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Hey, it can't be like this, right? Why do other systems only need a bit of music to be proficient in all instruments? They can even sing and dance, and even compose lyrics and music? Why is it so detailed when it comes to me? The system didn't respond. It might be a dead object, or it might be saying, everything you want to say is put in those 1,000 rules, and the last one is, all interpretation rights belong to the game. Toru Watanabe had no other choice. After searching for a long time, he finally found Obo in the corner. In the time he spent searching, the tram had arrived at the station. Toru Watanabe held up his umbrella and walked towards the rental house. He just remembered that he was free, so he opened the character panel. Character, Toru Watanabe. Age, 15. Intelligence, 8. Music, oboe. Charm, 10. Smile, beautiful charm, gentle. Stamina, 5. Items, 50% off intelligence coupon *1, charm coupon *2, 30% off above 10 points, 30% off below 10 points. Skills, encyclopedic knowledge, kickboxing master, self-discipline points, 254,000. Money, $121,155,652. Event reward, 5,000 points, master level. Piano purchase authority. Sign in, Miki Kujo. 38 days, self-discipline? Toru Watanabe was even happier than when he received the 100 million reward. This was the first skill recognized by the system that he had trained himself. Chapter 83. Stop. Rin Kiyono's hand clenched in the air, and the grand ensemble in the music classroom instantly fell silent. She expressionlessly flipped through the sheet music. Bass horn, the secondary melody at the beginning of the 41st bar, will be played by classmate Asaka. Also, clarinet, I already said that it has to be more lively here. Can you do it next time? Kitahara classmate, were you really practicing yesterday? Please practice until you can do it. Take a 10-minute break and practice on your own. Rin Kiyono announced the end of the class, picked up the documents on the table, and prepared to return to the Human Observation Department's activity classroom. Kiyono classmate. Keiru Hayami called out to her. What's the matter, Hayami classmate? Rin Kiyono stopped and stood in place, waiting for him to come over. Watanabe classmate didn't come to the club today. Do you know what happened? He asked for a leave of absence for July's monthly test. Kiyono classmate, you agreed? Keiru Hayami was a little surprised at first and then said to himself, that's right, Watanabe classmate is a newbie, so he doesn't need to play. The monthly test was a small test, and the school didn't have a rule to stop the club activities a week in advance. But even if there was a rule to stop, clubs like the wind instrument department that were about to participate in the competition during the summer would secretly practice by themselves. So it was impossible for them to take the initiative to ask for a leave of absence. Toru Watanabe was an exception. He was a newbie oboe, and oboe was notoriously difficult in orchestral music, so it was impossible for him to play a complete score before the Eastern Kyoto competition. Is there anything else? Rin Kiyono reminded the absent-minded Keiru Hayami. At this time, the music classroom was already filled with discussions. Too arrogant, they really think they're consultants. Even the consultants didn't criticize us like that. They obviously played very well, but they didn't even praise them. I don't want to be praised by the first years. So disgusting. All the whispers were directed at Qing Yiling, who had a calm expression on his face. Kaoru Hayami had an apologetic expression on his face. He felt sorry for stopping Rin Kiyono and letting her hear the criticism of the club members. I'm sorry, Kiyono. Rin Kiyono shook his head as if nothing had happened. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Please practice well, and see your classmates soon. As she closed the sliding door, she glanced at Aoi Ichiki, who was being comforted by the bass section. There, Mayasahi continued to practice expressionlessly. Time dragged on to the last day of June. Lunch break, Class 4's classroom. Watanabe, how did you do this time? I feel like there's nowhere else to get points. What arrogant words. The trio sat in the corner of the classroom and put their desks together for lunch. Tomorrow is the 3-day break. Where are you planning to go? Keisuke Saito asked. No. Osamu Kunai pulled up the collar of his uniform to let the wind in as he ate. The baseball section is going to train. Oh, then there's no other way. What about you, Watanabe? Keisuke Saito looked at Toru Watanabe, who had just finished his lunch. I heard that Rin Kiyono is busy training the blowing section. You should be fine, right? Osamu Kunai stopped pulling up his collar. Recently, Rin Kiyono seems to be hated by the senior girls. Do you know what's going on? Who knows? Toru Watanabe said lazily. He folded the plastic bag of bread and reached for the large bottle of wheat tea on the table. He unscrewed the cap and gulped it down. The distinct Adam's apple on his fair neck, and the liquid in the bottle shone brightly under the sunlight outside the window. Did you guys have a fight? Other than Mickey, I don't intend to fight with anyone. Toru Watanabe put down the bottle and took out his phone to play games to pass the time. Eek. The two of them looked disgusted. How could you say such sweet words to two single people like us? You're too cruel. After 2 classes in the afternoon, the school organized a major cleaning because of the 3-day break. Because of Rin Kiyono's insistence, the blowing section members delegated the task of cleaning to their classmates and used every minute and second to practice. The cleaning wasn't over yet, but they had already played together twice. Stop. Rin Kiyono's gaze swept across everyone's faces. If we keep this up, she said, we won't even be able to win the gold medal in the Kyoto East competition, let alone the Tokyo University competition, the national. Do you want to fight? The aggressive voice made the atmosphere in the music room drop by 3 degrees. Everyone subconsciously held their breaths. The flute and piccolo third-year student kicked the music stand aside. Student Ishitani, did I say something wrong? Rin Kiyono's expression didn't change, and her tone was exactly the same as usual. Aren't you too arrogant, first year? In the competition, no one cares if you're a first-year or a third-year student. The judges only care about whether your foundation is solid, whether your performance is emotional, the melody. Shut up. The scene froze. The timid girls covered their mouths and noses with their hands and looked at them in fear. Mayasahi looked out of the window at the first-year floor, looking for someone. Her fingers moved up and down according to the music. On the side, Asako Hanada, who was holding the bass cello, looked back and forth between Rin Kiyono and Ishitani. She was worried and wanted to stop the fight, but she was too shy to do so in front of so many people. In the trombone section, Yoshimi Tamamo retracted her gaze and stared at the music score that was getting more and more notes. The first-year students were showing off above the third-year students and even scolding them. How stupid. She flipped the music score to the part where she felt it wasn't smooth. Rin Kiyono wasn't afraid at all. You're not good enough, and you don't want to accept other people's guidance. You only know how to vent your anger because of your age. The classroom door was pulled open with a click, interrupting her. I'm so tired. A handsome boy with an oboe under his arm walked in, rubbing his shoulders. What's going on? He asked with a smile. Toru Watanabe's arrival loosened the tense atmosphere in the classroom. Many girls looked at his face with infatuation and whispered, "Oh no, he's too handsome." Asako Hanada breathed a sigh of relief. With Korin Watanabe here, everything would be fine. Yoshimi Tamamo's long eyelashes trembled, looking up at the smiling boy in front of her. Masahi's fingers were a bit lighter as she pressed the base button. It's none of your business. Hasegawa Haru's tone slowed down a bit. She wanted to be angry with Toru Watanabe, who had a good relationship with Rin Kiyono, but out of a woman's, or human's, instinct seeing a person with an outstanding appearance, she still subconsciously maintained the basic reserve. Senior, don't say that, I'm also a member of the blowing section. Toru Watanabe's smile was a bit more brilliant. Hasegawa Haru's anger suddenly dissipated. He continued. If I knew that the A group's level didn't need to participate in the cleaning, I wouldn't be so tired. A suffocating silence dominated the entire space. Most of the people, including Hasegawa Haru, looked at Toru Watanabe in amazement. Toru Watanabe's expression still didn't change, with a mysterious smile. He rubbed his shoulders, took out the oboe from under his arm, and said to Rin Kiyono on the podium, Advisor Kiyono, I want to conduct a second interview. The A group's level, I also have it. Rin Kiyono's beautiful little face looked at Toru Watanabe, but before she could speak, Hasegawa Haru's sharp voice came. This level? You're just a gigolo. Gigolo. Your instrument was bought by Kujo, right? A country. Well, I admit that I'm very good looking. You. What? Toru Watanabe interrupted her again, smiling and spreading his hands. Hasegawa Senior wants to fight with me? Okay, seeing that you're a senior, born 2 years earlier than me, as a junior, I'll let you fight with both of my hands. His tone was gentle, his smile was charming, and his simple spreading of his hands faintly revealed the style of a beautiful boy. But the atmosphere of the scene suddenly became frightened. In front of so many people, Toru Watanabe's arrogant and contemptuous attitude made Hasegawa Haru lose her mind. Her eyes burned with shame and anger. She hurriedly came over, waving her hand to hit Toru Watanabe's face. Hasegawa Senior. Watanabe. Wait. Ugh. Along with Hasegawa Haru's painful groan, the sound of the table and chair being hit, after a commotion, the scene was completely dead. Wasted a little time. Toru Watanabe took back his foot that easily tripped the other side, and said to the stunned Rin Kiyono, Consultant, let's start the interview, please listen to my performance. Without waiting for Rin Kiyono's consent, in this situation where they didn't know how to end it, Toru Watanabe played the oboe regardless. It was a familiar melody that had been practiced and heard countless times, but because the timbre was too beautiful, the noisy audience had no choice but to hold their breath. The melody was like a gospel singer's voice, gentle and delicate oboe timbre. Everyone's heart tightened. The lingering timbre extended infinitely, very clear and transparent, just like the sigh of God. Hasegawa Haru, who was lying on the ground, couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Her heart trembled, and goosebumps rose. In an instant, the summer air in the classroom was filled with a melodious and sweet rhythm. When the concert hall was so quiet that even the sound of a needle falling on the ground could be heard, everyone reacted. The performance was already over. No one moved, no one spoke. Qualified? Toru Watanabe asked. Pass. Seino Rin responded in a low voice, as if he still hadn't recovered from the performance just now. Toru Watanabe turned his eyes to Hasegawa Haru, and then looked at everyone. Playing so badly, the performance itself is full of flaws. At this level, you're already making things difficult for the consultant? Toru Watanabe put his hand in his bangs, patted his forehead, and sighed exaggeratedly. Forget it, anyway, it's useless for you people to work hard. It's good to recognize the gap between people early. Watanabe-san. Keiru Hayami stood up. Isn't it? Toru Watanabe opened his arms. I only practiced for half a month, everyone. His words were light and proud. You can reach the level of the national competition. What about you? No matter how much you practice, you can only get a bronze reward in the East Kyoto competition. Sorry, it's also possible that the judges saw that Kanagawa High School is more famous, and gave a silver reward that isn't too shameful. Did the truth hurt you? But you know best, whether what I said is true or not. Watanabe, shut up. The one who interrupted Toru Watanabe was Rin Kiyono. Everyone looked at her in surprise, Toru Watanabe too. Did Rin Kiyono see through his thoughts, so she planned to stop him from continuing? This won't do. Rin Kiyono's face was cold. I'm their consultant, I can say whatever I want to them, but I won't allow anyone else to preach. Kiyono classmate. Their voices were full of apology and gratitude. Also, Qingyi Rin's eyes, which had always been cold, were now burning with passion. I think that as long as all of you work hard, you can enter the national tournament and even win the gold reward. Gasps could be heard in the music classroom. This was the first time Rin Kiyono praised them. Toru Watanabe was obviously speaking for her. In the depths of everyone's hearts, there was an inexplicable surge of warmth. Asako Hanada didn't know if she was happy or embarrassed, but her throat was itching and she had to say something. Kiyono classmate, the competition. She clenched her small hands and took a deep breath. I'll do my best. Me too, me too. Toru Watanabe looked at everyone with a look that said everyone, have some self-awareness, and said to Rin Kiyono perfunctorily, you're the eldest daughter of Kiyono family, whatever you say. This guy, his personality is too bad. Familiar whispers could be heard, but the target was changed to Toru Watanabe. Watanabe classmate, the interview is over. Please sit in the woodwind position. Also, I don't want to see any conflicts between members. Rin Kiyono warned. Yes, yes, yes. Well, it doesn't matter if there are conflicts or if you hate someone. Don't waste time, continue with the ensemble. Rin Kiyono looked at Hasegawa Haru, who was being supported by everyone. 1 2 1 2 3 4 inch. Stop. Hey. Before Rin Kiyono could open her mouth, Toru Watanabe put his hand on the back of the steel chair and turned around. That saxophone, the one in the middle, yes, the one with the thick legs, it's you. Just now you were out of tune, right? You. Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono helplessly shouted. What's wrong? Toru Watanabe turned around. No, miss, pointing out each other's mistakes counts as a conflict between members. Rin Kiyono suppressed her anger and took a deep breath, powerlessly said. It doesn't count, but, Kiyono classmate, Kitahara classmate with the thick legs stood up, I'll play it well. Toru Watanabe powerlessly leaned back on the steel chair. The goal is to not be out of tune, forget it. You guys are just like this, using my own level to ask you guys, sure enough, it's too much. Kitahara's eyes were hazy with tears as she shouted at him. I'll play it well. Okay. Toru Watanabe sat up straight. I believe in you. Kitahara was stunned. Could it be that Watanabe classmate was just encouraging her? The second ensemble. Hey, Kitahara classmate with the thick legs, can you do it or not? And the one at the outermost percussion. Your arms are so thick, but you don't have any strength when you hit it. Don't tell me you're full of fat? The third ensemble. Ah. I can't take it anymore. Girl with thick legs, you and you, to be honest, without you guys, the rest of you might be able to rely on your own abilities, plus my performance, to get the silver reward, no, the gold reward. After all, I'm here. Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono glared at him. Sorry, miss. Because I was too angry, I accidentally attacked you. The fourth ensemble. Legs. Toru Watanabe, that's enough. A senior who saw Kitahara crying stood up and reprimanded loudly. HM? Did I say something wrong? Her legs aren't thick? Or are they not out of tune? How can you say that about a girl? You can say that about me too. Say which part of my performance is not good, or which part is ugly, as long as it's the truth, I won't refute. This, senior with single eyelids, please. You. See, you have nothing to say. Let me tell you my motto. The only way to shut me up is to be better than me in all aspects. Was this his motto? It sounded like a provocation. Kitahara held back the senior who was about to argue. I'll work hard. The senior sat down unwillingly, and the others also shrank back. Although they wanted to give Toru Watanabe a good beating, they were afraid that he would say this buck-toothed classmate, that yellow-toothed classmate, that short-legged classmate, that classmate without a nose. It was too scary. I must definitely get the gold reward to show this guy. With this thought in mind, the day's training in the wind department ended. In the activity classroom of the human observation department, Toru Watanabe dismantled his oboe, put it in his instrument case, and prepared to leave. You're not sending me off today? Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono in surprise. Rin Kiyono looked at the night sky outside the window. It's almost 12. I don't care. After locking the door, the two walked on the street lit only by streetlights. The night wind blew gently and occasionally, a car with its lights on drove past. It was so bright that it was hard to open one's eyes. Thank you for today. Rin Kiyono's words were heard along with the sound of wheels rolling on the road. You've already seen through my plan. You didn't think it was that secretive, did you? You thought I would misunderstand you? Toru Watanabe was embarrassed for a second. Then I didn't stop you, but deliberately went against you? Rin Kiyono tucked her long hair behind her ears and continued with a smile. Yeah. Watanabe, Sam would rather be hated than to help me, so how could I betray you? Rin Kiyono's lips curved into a beautiful smile. Is that how you use the word betray? Rin Kiyono looked at the red light of the traffic lights and stopped in her tracks. Watanabe-san, aren't you afraid of being hated? This is a good thing for me. Toru Watanabe said indifferently. Being hated will make Mickey feel at ease. However, I feel a little bad for attacking girls personally. It's fine if they hate me, but I hope they won't be traumatized. Thick legs, single eyelids. It's hard. Anyway, I'm saying this for you. If they're traumatized, then it's your fault. You'll have to bear this guilt. Rin Kiyono sighed. Sometimes I can't tell if you're gentle or not. Of course I'm gentle. I'm saying this because I'm afraid you'll fall in love with me. Don't worry, my love isn't that cheap. However, Rin Kiyono turned her head and looked at Toru Watanabe with a smile. You've won my friendship. From today onwards, you're my first friend. Her face was clearly illuminated by the passing cars. There was a faint blush on her face. Can I refuse? No. The red light turned green, and Rin Kiyono walked on the zebra crossing with a smile on her face. By the way, how did you improve the oboe to this level in such a short time? Who do you think I am? Toru Watanabe. No. Toru Watanabe opened his hands against the night wind. I'm God. Hey, is there a chance for your Chinibu disease to be cured? Rin Kiyono, Sen should be worried about me, right? His poor imitation made Rin Kiyono unceremoniously reach out her hand to his waist. Ouch. It hurts, Kiyono-san. Lies. I didn't use any strength. It hurts. Rin Kiyono pulled back 2 steps with a cold face. There's one more thing. I hope that the next time you play, you won't target Kitahara classmate. Why? Wasn't she out of tune? The second time I played, she was no longer out of tune. Toru Watanabe stopped. You lied to me? What do you think? Toru Watanabe felt his face begin to heat up. Then tonight, didn't I lose a lot of face? Rin Kiyono laughed. At that time your performance scared them. They subconsciously thought that you could hear the subtle differences that their ears couldn't. Plus, I didn't expose you, so they won't suspect anything. Don't tell anyone about this. Toru Watanabe warned. Then Kitahara classmate is too pitiful. If you tell anyone, I'll be the pitiful one. Don't worry who told you to be my subordinate, and also my friend. You are shy? People who talk too much usually die miserably. Chapter 84. Ding ding dang ding ding dang jingle bells. Mickey. 15 minutes left. What 15 minutes? July? Because of the system, Toru Watanabe was very sensitive to the beginning and end of the month. I told you, I'm going to check on your homework in July. Miki Kujo's voice came from the other side of the phone. Although her tone was lazy, she sounded very energetic. It should be noon where she was. Now, of course, playing the oboe in the middle of the night will disturb the neighbors. That's your business. She was unsurprisingly stubborn. Okay, give me a moment. Walking south from Toru Watanabe's rental house, near the inner line of the Maruchichi line, one could see a moat. Every evening, the riverside would be filled with people walking their dogs and street performers singing sad songs like, Cherry Blossoms Want to See You. In the middle of the night, the moat would only be filled with drunken passers-by or sneaky couples. Halfway through the call, Toru Watanabe switched to video mode. As he walked towards the riverside, he told Miki Kujo all these random things. Miki Kujo was probably on a balcony. The white curtains swayed in the wind. She was lying on a comfortable chair with her eyes closed. Every time Toru Watanabe thought that she was asleep, she would respond with an indifferent mem. Toru Watanabe placed his cell phone on a bench under a tree by the riverside. With the help of the streetlights in the distance, his image in the front-facing camera was a little blurry. His fair face was dyed yellow, but it didn't affect his handsomeness. For the past week, Toru Watanabe had been practicing here every day. This was his usual spot. His finger found the right position and adjusted the sound. Let's begin. Miki Kujo in the cell phone had her eyes closed. She seemed to be asleep. This reminded Toru Watanabe of the time in the concert hall, when she was woken up by the sound of the wind ensemble. Toru Watanabe inhaled slightly. As his finger pressed the button, his breath entered the whistle. The solo segment ended. "How is it?" Toru Watanabe asked. "Have you learned it before? Do you think I could afford an oboe in the past? I've never touched any musical instrument other than the flute I used in elementary school." Miki Kujo sneered. "Do you think I'm a fool? Without a foundation, who could learn the oboe in half a month? Not to mention that you have completely surpassed the level of a student. You know it too. It's probably because I have a little bit of talent." Toru Watanabe gestured with his index finger and thumb. Miki Kujo sneered and stared at Toru Watanabe with an expression that said, "Keep making up stories for me." Of course, the most important reason. Yes. It's my unparalleled love for you, Miki. Don't you think it's amazing? Just because I didn't want to disappoint you and wanted to play the best sound for you, I was able to learn the oboe in half a month. Miki Kujo on the screen seemed speechless. She pursed her lips in disgust, then turned her head away as if she couldn't bear to watch any longer. "All right, continue." She waved her hand as if she couldn't be bothered to ask. Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief and continued to play. The soft timbre, the melodious melody, and the beautiful low voice were like the gospel in a Catholic church. The sound of the instrument glided across the surface of the moat and blended into the summer night. Miki Kujo stared at Toru Watanabe's blurry figure on the screen and listened intently. It was as if all the sounds in the outside world had disappeared. In her ears, only the sound of Toru Watanabe's oboe remained. Light swirled in her eyes, and the world was a riot of colors. When the video ended, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of July. Toru Watanabe looked at the 1 hour and 15 minutes of call time and sighed that time had passed so quickly. Toru Watanabe didn't want to show off in front of the high school students, and it didn't give him any pride. What he wanted was for Miki Kujo to be addicted to his music. Just now, the picky Miki Kujo had listened to him carefully for more than an hour, and the satisfaction it brought was indescribable. Toru Watanabe faced the moat and stretched his body. It was late at night, and there was still training tomorrow, but he wasn't in a hurry to go back to shower and sleep. After enjoying the night breeze for a while, until his leg was bitten by a mosquito, Toru Watanabe put his phone in his pocket, picked up his oboe, and slowly returned to his apartment. After showering, Toru Watanabe applied some medicine on the mosquito pack and opened the system. New product. Weather forecast. Weather forecast. With one purchase, you can obtain the global weather for the next 30 days, 100% accuracy. There won't be a situation where you bring an umbrella, but it doesn't rain. How boring and random was the system store. Toru Watanabe thought that he was very knowledgeable and had read many novels, but he had never seen a weather forecast in the system store. Other than accidentally disappearing on the sea and avoiding a storm, he couldn't think of anything else that was worth spending 1,000 points to predict the weather. And that damn fruit knife. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Out of sight, out of mind, Toru Watanabe swiped down the panel and revealed July's 5 skills. Skills: Beginner, Gambling 100. Master, Wind Basin Dance 1000. Master, Writing 10,000. Master, Tank Gunner 100,000. Tank Gunner? What tank? What kind of gunner? Toru Watanabe, who was very knowledgeable, thought a lot when faced with problems. He clicked on the explanation. Tank Gunner. The turret is justice, the caliber is truth, and the accuracy of movement is not based on blind guesses. It was really a tank gunner. Where was he going to find a tank? And it was only a gunner's skill. What about a driver? What about a driver? When Toru Watanabe saw the name, he was a little excited. He thought that the system was in favor of harmony, but in fact, it was a skill that he would definitely buy even if he didn't need it at the moment. Beginner level. Gambling was useless. He didn't lack money, and even if he did, he wouldn't be interested in gambling. Master level. Wind Basin Dance. Toru Watanabe checked Wikipedia and found out that the so-called Wind Basin Dance was a folk dance in Toyama Prefecture, Japan. It was said that with the accompaniment of the three-stringed harp and huchin, the dance was elegant and to hell with it. Master level. Writing. Without Miki Kujo, Toru Watanabe would seriously consider exchanging for it. In the first place, he wasn't very interested in seducing girls, gaining points, and becoming an all-rounder. Becoming an author or a light novelist would give him the freedom to work, rest, and live. He wouldn't have to socialize with other people. It was the ideal life. But in reality, Toru Watanabe didn't have the freedom to choose his career. But he couldn't say for sure. What if the system didn't help him? A few years wouldn't be enough for him to become something. If he really got together with Miki Kujo and insisted on becoming an author, she wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Wait, I'm already the son-in-law of the Kujo family. Why would I still want to live the life of an author with deadlines? Another month of waiting in vain. Toru Watanabe turned off the system and went to sleep. P.S. Sorry, my shoulder hurts so much that I can't sit still. I only have one chapter for today. Chapter 85. Next stop, Shiya Station, Shiya Station. Saihara Zeo woke up with a start and rushed out of the car with the instrument case. Just as she stepped on the platform, the door behind her immediately closed. That was close. Just as she breathed a sigh of relief and came back to her senses, she felt a wave of heat. It was July. Even if it was 7 in the morning, the body would feel uncomfortable from the heat if she moved slightly. Quickly go to the music room. Thinking this, she walked out of the ticket gate and started to climb the slope. The music department's holiday practice was from 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening. Today, she came 2 hours earlier than usual. The reason for this. Saihara Zeo lowered her head. The girl's legs that extended out from under the plaid pleated skirt were a bit thick. Taking a deep breath, she started to run, the pleated skirt rubbing against her skin from time to time. She rushed up the slope and arrived at the school gate. Walking past the tall oak tree on the field, the sports club members had not arrived yet. The school was quiet and there was not a single person. Very good. I'm the first. Saihara Zeo secretly clenched her fist. I must practice that part well today. Although she was sweating from the heat, her steps were very light as she walked into the school building. At this moment, a mellow, gentle, and deep sound came from above her head. It was the bass horn. Someone came earlier than her. Curious, Saihara Zeo quickly walked up the stairs. The sound became clearer and clearer, echoing in every corridor of the school building. Arriving at the entrance of the 5th-floor corridor, she peeked outside, only to see the third-year Mayasahi Sr. holding a shiny bass horn, sitting on a steel pole chair. Saihara Zeo stared blankly at her nimble fingers on the keys, her slender and smooth legs under the pleated skirt, and her delicate face under her naturally falling black hair. Just like the ice goddess Kaoni, she really could not imagine what kind of boy could calmly stand beside her senior. As for being her boyfriend, husband, and not holding such a perfect senior's waist without any scruples, sleeping on the same bed every day, that level of excellence was already beyond her imagination. If she could become someone like Minato, she would not have been humiliated yesterday. Saihara Zeo took a deep breath, gave up the idea of going back to the music room to turn on the air conditioning, and walked towards Mayasahi. Good morning, Senior Ming-tian. The sound of the bass horn stopped, and Mayasahi nodded to her. Tomorrow, senpai, do you come this early every day? Sakai Kitahara placed the instrument case on the ground. Yes. Amazing. I can't get up at all. She took out her saxophone. Senior, let's practice together? I'm going back to the classroom. Am I disturbing you? Saihara Zawi was so scared that she used honorifics. Sunday, the sun. What did you say? After she asked, Sai Kitahara reacted. Senior, do you mean that the sun is too bright and you feel hot? You can't sweat. After Mayasahi finished speaking, she walked towards the corridor as if she had made herself clear. Sakai Kitahara looked at the saxophone in her hand, wondering if she had heard wrong. Did he not want to sweat? The blazing sun rose from Tokyo Bay, and the chirping of cicadas came from the courtyard of the school building. A drop of sweat flowed down her temples, slipped into the collar of the summer uniform she had just changed into today, and finally disappeared into the edge of her underwear. Forget it, let's go back to the music classroom. Senpai, wait for me. She didn't put the saxophone back, but directly took it in her hand. Picking up the instrument case, Sai Kitahara ran towards Mayasahi's back. At 9 o'clock, everyone had already arrived, and after a long time of basic training, Toru Watanabe leisurely walked into the music classroom where the air was gradually getting muddy. After changing into a short-sleeved summer school uniform, he looked very fresh and clean, like a white bedsheet drying under the sun. With a whistle in his mouth, he didn't play any part of the music score but jingle bells. After he sat down in his seat, Rin Kiyono looked around the classroom. Today's plan is to play ensemble until the scheduled performance in the afternoon. She ignored the members' cries and continued. Start tuning. Yes. Yuki wrapped her lips around the clarinet's mouthpiece. Wait a minute. Rin Kiyono interrupted her. From today onwards, the tuning will be given to the oboe. The original silence in the classroom began to evolve into silence. A girl stood up. Kiyono-san, everyone is already used to tuning with Yuki-senpai, and there hasn't been any problems. I don't think there is a need to change. I don't care how it was before, whether you are used to it or not. I only pursue the best. Rin Kiyono expressionlessly rejected the other party's request. Tetsuji Watanabe whistled triumphantly at the ceiling, sounding like a train whistle. Boo 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 dash. The girl sat down with a bang, and the steel chair made a harsh sound. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe, who didn't sit properly. Let's start. I'll let you see, even if it's tuning, there is a gap in strength. Toru Watanabe inserted the whistle into the oboe, regardless of the other people's expressions, minding his own business and playing. Unlike him, who was annoying when he spoke, Toru Watanabe's high-pitched A note had excellent penetrating power. The oboe shook the air and penetrated everyone's eardrums as if they had been punched in the head. It was obviously just a reproduction of the same note. Why was his performance so different? How on earth could such a paralyzing sound be produced? Just when everyone was silent and at a loss, the sound of a bass horn suddenly sounded. It was Mayasahi. Oboe, bass horn, the same melody, intertwined with each other in the hot summer music classroom with the air conditioning on. Then came the bassoon, then the bass cello, and then the trombone by the window. It was unknown whose transparent kettle. The tea inside was vibrating up and down with the neat sound of the instruments. The slightly undulating waves reflected the various colors of the sunlight outside the window. Rin Kiyono raised his hand, indicating that it was done. Sigh, a long sigh. Everyone put down their instruments and looked for the source of the sound. They saw Tetsumesa Watanabe wiping the whistle. None of them can play. The little bit of admiration that had just risen in their hearts was instantly covered by anger. Before they could react. 1 2 1 2 3 4. As Rin Kiyono waved his baton, the drums began to beat the beat, followed by the main melody of the brass and woodwind. It was the same as yesterday. It was obviously an ensemble, but as long as the oboe made a sound, it became a solo. Not to mention the audience. Even the performers would subconsciously listen to the beautiful sound of the oboe amidst a group of musical instruments. Stop! Rin Kiyono put down his baton and fell into deep thought, then suddenly raised his head. Kitahara. Toru Watanabe turned around and blew a whistle at Hayashi Kitahara. Boo! Other oboe musicians, once tuned, would not move the whistle again, because if it was inserted slightly deeper or shallower, the sound produced would be very different in the ears of professionals. For example, the oboe musician Sato Noriko, after tuning, would never take it off unless it needed to be cleaned. Toru Watanabe, on the other hand, would take it off and use it as a whistle. Here. Boo Boo, who had been painted on the whistle of Northern Plains, lowered his head and replied slowly, here. The classroom fell into a torturous silence. Everyone knew that after Rin Kiyono finished speaking, this innocent girl would once again be ridiculed by the opposite sex. Please practice until you can blow the whistle at any time. The sound of the whistle stopped abruptly. Kitahara suddenly raised her head, her mouth slightly open, staring at Rin Kiyono in disbelief. Did you hear that? Rin Kiyono's cold gaze pressured her. Tears of excitement welled up in her eyes. Kitahara's emotions were about to erupt like a volcano. Yes. Smuff, you have to be more neat here. During the break, Toru Watanabe, who had been acting all morning and mocking to the point that his mouth was dry, decided to go to the Human Observation Department's activity room to drink some juice. The fridge in the corner of the classroom was filled with luxurious snacks, juice, and other food for the dance party every day. Drinking watermelon juice, Toru Watanabe looked across the table at Rin Kiyono, who was writing on a sheet of music. Your performance just now wasn't bad, you're suddenly popular. I don't intend to be popular with them. You didn't have any friends before, because you lacked a character like me. As long as I was more outrageous than you, those people would see your brilliance. More outrageous than me? Rin Kiyono raised her head. Yes. Toru Watanabe savored the taste of the fruit on his tongue. You mean I'm outrageous? Now that the beautiful girl in front of him had a dangerous look in her eyes, Toru Watanabe decided to test her emotions first. You probably maybe, want to hear the truth, right? Don't use a hesitant tone, I just want to hear the truth. Promise you won't be angry, won't throw a tantrum? Toru Watanabe learned from his mistakes. As a Saint Seiya, he definitely wouldn't lose to the same trick twice. But then again, not only did Saint Seiya use the same trick for a long time, but it also seemed like they were often defeated by the same trick. After hearing Toru Watanabe's words, Rin Kiyono's beautiful face couldn't help but show a funny expression. Yes, I won't be angry, I won't throw a tantrum, but, her eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. The weather is hot, I want to drink iced juice. During the holidays on campus, there were two places to obtain an item called iced juice. One Miki Kujo's fridge. Toru Watanabe didn't mind drinking it himself, but if he gave it to someone else, especially a woman, and this woman's name was Rin Kiyono, Toru Watanabe didn't plan to do this before he had his own tank and found a driver and a commander. 2. The vending machine on the first floor. Everyone, I need to reiterate the location of the Human Observation Department's activity room, the 5th floor of the club building. On the 5th floor, there was also something that everyone knew. Tokyo was very hot, so this was also a choice that was not fatal, but also very painful. After a simple consideration, Toru Watanabe decided to temporarily show weakness to the enemy. How is that excessive? You're just telling the truth, and some people don't like to hear the truth. Rin Kiyono snorted, rolled her eyes at him, and continued to bury her head in the music score. Why do I feel like she's more girly than before? After a while, Rin Kiyono took the music score filled with notes, and went to each department to teach the students how to train. Because the people from the calligraphy department next door were resting, Toru Watanabe decided to practice in the activity room. His goal was to make the students hate him, but he didn't like to stay in a space where everyone hated him. After practicing for a while, the door to the activity room was pushed open. You're back so soon, senior? Standing outside the door was my Asahi, whose eyes were as clear as water. The tall, slender, and curvaceous senior from the cold department quietly closed the door and locked it from the inside. The sound of the chain opening made Toru Watanabe gulp. Senior Ming Tian, why did you suddenly come here? Call me Mai. Call me Mai. My Asahi walked towards Toru Watanabe. Seeing that she wasn't going to let him escape, Toru Watanabe stood up instinctively. Senior sister, what brings you here? I'm here to show Toru Watanabe your underwear. Her tone was so natural that it was as if she was showing him the music score. My Asahi started unbuttoning her shirt one by one. By the time she unbuttoned the third button, Her black underwear and white underwear were already visible. For a young man who was filled with endless fantasies, such a scene was fatally attractive. Toru Watanabe tried very hard to move his eyes away from the black and white, but his peripheral vision was already out of control. As Masahi approached, Toru Watanabe found that his back was already pressed against the wall. Toru Watanabe wanted to escape, but Masahi forced him to the window and blocked his way with her hand on the transparent glass. Am I being pressed against the wall? Toru Watanabe's brain lost its ability to think. But a sense of panic immediately swept over him. Toru Watanabe didn't hate this scene, but at least changed the location and time. Rin Kiyono could come back at any time. The music classroom was on the 3rd floor across from him. There was also a row of music classrooms. The music club members only needed to look out the window to clearly see him. Besides, he wasn't the Toru Watanabe from before he went to Imperial Tea. If the current him was discovered to be having an affair, he would definitely be killed. Senior? Their gazes met at close range. Toru Watanabe saw that Masahi's originally snow-white cheeks were burning red. His gaze naturally moved downwards. Her white shirt and black underwear were both swollen. A wave of heat rushed straight to his head. A close-up of his senior's body really wasn't good for his heart. Toru Watanabe looked and looked. He originally wanted to say something, but for some reason he felt a little breathless and couldn't say anything. Masahi remained silent. Her lips were tightly pursed, and her shy expression showed that she was enjoying Toru Watanabe's gaze. In the activity classroom, the artificial air conditioning could no longer block out the natural summer heat. Toru Watanabe's hot breath blew out and hit Masahi's collarbone. Every time this happened, her body would slightly tremble, as if she were having spasms. The dreamlike sunlight shone on Masahi's white shirt. Toru Watanabe could see the slender lines of her body. Looking down every time the skirt swayed, he could faintly see the red of her white thighs. Toru Watanabe forcefully swallowed a mouthful of saliva, but found that his throat was still dry. He began to wonder if he had really swallowed something just now. Could it be that this was an illusion? Had he actually fallen asleep on the table just now? Because wasn't this all too dreamy? The school building, the hot summer, the white school uniform, the female high school student and the male high school student, their chests pressed against each other's chest. Just as their breaths came out of their lungs, they were inhaled by the other person. This scene should have been drawn on the cover of a light novel, or the first episode of an anime to attract the audience. Just as Toru Watanabe was worried about being seen, but he couldn't bear to push her away, Masahi suddenly raised her face. She closed her eyes, and her long eyelashes fluttered up and down. A drop of sweat followed the perfect arc of her 2 steps and fell into the cleft of her collarbone, drawing out a curve that stimulated hormones. Phew! She slowly exhaled a breath that was filled with a sweet smell. It seemed to be accompanied by a hazy mist. Masahi staggered backward, exhausted, and sat down on Toru Watanabe's steel chair. It's over? Senior sister is unexpectedly useless? Toru Watanabe felt terrible. Just at this moment, the pink atmosphere dissipated, and the chirping of cicadas came from outside the window. It felt like his eardrums were being pricked. Senior, why did you do this? I don't know. Masahi's face was still flushed, and delicious spring water seemed to be flowing out of her eyes. You don't know? Yeah, she replied softly, and then muttered as if she was lost in her own thoughts. Nothing matters except Che. Did it mean that external stimuli could not stimulate any emotions, and he was the only exception? But I did that kind of thing in the piano club. Why? Toru Watanabe didn't know whether to use the word like or infatuated. Get close to me? Che's attitude towards others is good. I don't care. Masahi shook her head, and her dry grass-like bangs swayed, giving her a hint of naivety. I already have a girlfriend. I don't care. Masahi lifted her legs slightly and reached her hands into her pleated skirt. Although he couldn't see the world under her skirt, judging from her movements, she was undoubtedly pulling something down. Senior. This really won't do. Now, the only woman Toru Watanabe dared to touch and could touch as he pleased was Miki Kujo. Toru Watanabe admitted that he was a bit of a pervert, but at the same time, he was a very good judge of the situation. In some people's words, he was a coward. He was fine with looking, but he definitely wouldn't touch her physically. Only a pervert would lose his life and hurt his parents for a moment of impulse. When Miki Kujo came back, wouldn't it be better to touch her? Recently, he had been reading books on how to massage. So no matter how good Masahi's figure was, how cold she was in front of others, and how passionate she was in front of him, he still couldn't. Please throw it away for me. Toru Watanabe looked at the sweat-soaked black cloth in his hand. I'll go back first. After saying that, Masahi walked out of the door as if nothing had happened. Senior, you're just like that. How could she not wear anything? What if others saw? Masahi tilted her head slightly and looked at Toru Watanabe in confusion. That below you? Masahi thought for a while, and seemed to understand what he meant. She put her slender hand on her waist and pulled down her skirt. The skirt went past her knees, and it was no different from cropped pants. This still wasn't. How could it be? Was it a matter of the skirt's length? It was the difference between wearing and not wearing, nothing and something, 0 and 1. Chapter 86. Masahi left. The only thing left behind was a pair of soft black underwear on the table. Toru Watanabe was thinking about how to deal with the controlled product in front of him. Although he already had 2 pairs of stockings hidden in his room, they were still stockings, and the owner of the stockings was his girlfriend, Miki Kujo. Even if someone found out, he could still explain it away. But Masahi's underwear. This wasn't a book that Kujo would only make fun of if it was seen. Its existence was like a bomb that didn't have a predetermined time to detonate. He decided to find a trash can far away from his apartment and throw it away. Toru Watanabe covered his face with both hands as he thought absent-mindedly. The scene of Masahi unbuttoning 3 buttons appeared in his mind. After that, Toru Watanabe couldn't stop himself from looking at Masahi's pleated skirt out of the corner of his eye. After a period of observation, he discovered that the risk of her being exposed was actually quite low. First of all, the oboe musicians were at the back of the classroom, near the edge. Masahi was also practicing in her seat, and she almost didn't go to the bathroom. In addition, her skirt was deliberately lowered. Unless there was a plot that was popular in light novels, but would never happen in real life, it was impossible to be discovered. At noon, the morning's training came to an end. Because there was a scheduled performance in the afternoon, everyone had 2 hours to eat and move. Toru Watanabe acted alone. In order to integrate Rin Kiyono into the band, he deliberately kept a distance from her in front of them. This was something that he couldn't ask for more. At least Miki Kujo wouldn't find an excuse to punish him. Moreover, at this moment, Toru Watanabe didn't want to walk with anyone. After all, he was wearing women's underwear. Too perverted. As Toru Watanabe stood on the platform, he couldn't help but worry that the train attendant would suddenly rush over and ask for a body search. If that was the case, he would really have to jump into the train tracks and commit suicide. I'd better stay away from Masahi in the future. Toru Watanabe raised his palm towards the blue sky and blew on the back of his hand. This was the breathing method that Rin Kiyono had taught him. Don't stop breathing. You have to build a bridge of breath between the back of your hand and your lips. She was still able to repeat her words without missing a single word. The white clouds flowed slowly between his fingers, as if they were blown away by him. At this moment, a group of girls wearing Kanagawa High School uniforms walked onto the platform. They were members of the bass section. In order to avoid the scorching sun, they ran into Toru Watanabe's shelter. Asako Hanada and Aoi Ichiki nodded at him, while the others ignored him. Only Masahi sat beside him as if nothing had happened. The fragrance of her body was captured by Toru Watanabe's nostrils. The rest of the people were stunned, but seeing that Asami didn't greet him, they only thought that she didn't put Toru Watanabe in her eyes at all, and didn't suspect the relationship between the two. Toru Watanabe subconsciously glanced at her dress, and immediately moved away from her. Since he had decided to distance himself from this crazy girl, he should act immediately. What Toru Watanabe didn't expect was that Masahi sat next to him again. The people in the bass section were dumbfounded by her behavior. At this moment, Masahi patted the empty seat and said to Asako Hanada, "Sit." So she was making room for someone else. Although she was a bit cold, she was actually very gentle deep down. This was what the base section members thought. Crazy girls are scary. I want to go back to the countryside. This was what Toru Watanabe thought. The base section members surrounded Masahi and chatted among themselves. They said that the weather was too hot and recommended sunscreen to each other. The atmosphere was very lively, but Toru Watanabe only felt that they were noisy and the weather was even hotter. Can't summer be quieter? Are they sparrows or cicadas? After complaining in his heart, Toru Watanabe stared at the clouds in a daze. The tram clanked into the station and stirred up a hot wind. When they got on, Masahi whispered in Toru Watanabe's ear, "Don't worry, I won't let anyone see." What does that mean? Does it mean that I'm fine with it? Women are too cunning. If she said that, Toru Watanabe couldn't treat her as a crazy girl anymore. During the regular performance in the afternoon, the trumpet section received applause. Although the applause could barely be considered warm, it was a world of difference compared to the last time when they were laughed at. After the performance, Rin Kiyono announced that they were dismissed for the day. She told everyone to have a good night's rest and to continue practicing tomorrow. Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono were going home on the same route, so the two met halfway. After so many methods of training, they should be obedient to you in the future, right? Toru Watanabe smiled and deliberately showed the ugly face of a capitalist who had successfully exploited his workers. Rin Kiyono looked at him with dissatisfaction. "Don't say that I'm sinister. You decided and implemented the idea without permission. You also cooperated, didn't you? In fact, it's a joint crime." Rin Kiyono sighed. "I can't refute that." The two of them walked along the Shinjuku National Highway for a while, and passed by a bus stop that was sprayed with mist. Rin Kiyono suddenly said, "Thank you for this matter." Her tone was very sincere, with a sense of openness. Toru Watanabe wasn't used to this kind of scene. It was like a father suddenly saying, "Son, I love you." It's enough to understand each other's feelings. Why say it so formally? "I'll be shy. Helping a beautiful girl like Kiyono-san is my duty." Toru Watanabe used a joke to break the serious atmosphere. Rin Kiyono covered her mouth and laughed. "Ah, I thought I was special. It turns out that Watanabe-san is like this to every cute girl." No. Toru Watanabe deliberately changed his words in a hurry. "I'm only like this to Kiyono-san." Rin Kiyono quickly blinked twice and looked at him in a daze. "What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe was puzzled. Rin Kiyono turned her head and didn't look at him. She whispered, "Thank you." If it weren't for the two of them being close to each other, and the fact that it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in July, the streets were very quiet because of the heat, Toru Watanabe wouldn't have heard her words clearly. "Why are you thanking me again?" Was what I said just now the truth?" "Yes." "Kiyono-san, don't misunderstand. I don't like you. I just think that someone like you who insists on not lying should have someone on your side, supporting you and helping you. So it's like that. I thought it was a confession of love. I was thinking about how to refuse so that you wouldn't rush to the road and commit suicide." "Commit suicide? Kiyono-san, you might have a heat stroke." "Heat stroke? No. But you don't look good." Hello? Kiyono, are you okay?" The distant road was distorted by the sun's rays. Toru Watanabe's voice was getting farther and farther away. After a moment of dizziness, Rin Kiyono lost consciousness. The fruit knife from the $100 store can also be peeled without touching the knife. Rin Kiyono woke up from her coma. Her 5 senses gradually recovered. The smell of the hospital's disinfectant lingered in her nose, and Toru Watanabe's incomprehensible mutterings entered her ears. "It's me. What's wrong?" "You're awake?" Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe walking over with a peeled apple. She didn't have the appetite to eat. "Thank you, but I'm not." Crunch. The apple was bitten, leaving a hole that could be used as a logo. "You're welcome. I just called an ambulance. Oh, by the way, the doctor said that you're fine. You're just physically weak and haven't had a good rest recently. Plus, you've been using your brain too much. Then you got a heat stroke under the sun. Toru Watanabe enjoyed the apple's sweet juice and plump flesh. Rin Kiyono looked at the apple being eaten bite by bite and closed her eyes again. Do you feel any discomfort? If you feel any discomfort, you must tell me. I'll call the doctor for you. Toru Watanabe took another bite of the apple. It's fresh and full of water. It has a unique fragrance. I've only eaten this kind of apple in my hometown. It's freshly plucked from the tree. Do you know? In my school, there's an old apple tree. It's been more than 30 years. Every year, it produces green apples. Have you eaten a green apple before? It's not sour, it's very sweet. The whole ward was filled with the sound of apples being eaten and Toru Watanabe's endless recollections. Rin Kiyono felt dizzy. She wanted to massage her temples, but found that her usual hand was on a drip, so she had to use her other hand. Toru Watanabe finished the apple, threw away the core, and went to the bathroom to wash his hands. Do you want something to drink? Drink. I'll buy it for you, he asked while wiping his hands. Apple. So you want to eat it? Didn't you say you didn't want it? Rin Kiyono's face turned red. She asked in disbelief. You did it on purpose? Ha ha ha. Toru Watanabe laughed happily. Rin Kiyono covered her head with the blanket and pretended to be dead. Once a person was lying in a hospital bed, they would appear weak. If it was the Rin Kiyono in the activity room, she would definitely use the sharpest words to fight back. But this guy is too cute. Is he seducing me by doing this with 9 points of charm? He must be, right? Toru Watanabe picked up another apple and started to peel it with the fruit knife. I bought this from a stall in front of the hospital. It's not a fancy fruit store like the one in Ginza. I don't know if you like it. While he was buying the fruit, he secretly got rid of the black underwear. What's the difference? Rin Kiyono's voice was more dull and weak than usual. You sound like a rich girl with no common sense. Toru Watanabe tried to keep the apple peeled. Do you know Ikebukuro West Street? This was the main place where he spent his money before he got the system and ate Miki Kujo's soft rice. I've never been there. I don't think you'll go to that kind of place. When the locals hear the name of the place, they can imagine how shabby the fruit stores there are. Of course, this is compared to the fruit stores in Ginza. For ordinary people, the quality of the fruit is within the acceptable range. Why can you imagine it just by hearing the name of the place? There are massage salons, pornographic video halls, and barbecue restaurants next to it. What do you think? You went to pornographic video halls, Rin Kiyono said with certainty for some reason. Wrong. Out of 4 choices, you're wrong. I really don't know how you got first place in school. It's because I have a bad impression of you that I made the wrong choice. Yes. I've already peeled the fruit for you. Eat it, young miss. Toru Watanabe put down the fruit knife and handed the peeled apple to her. Rin Kiyono poked her head out of the quilt. Her face had returned to normal. She took the apple with her white and slender hand, said thank you, and took a bite of the apple with satisfaction. The peel in the trash can broke once. What a pity. It seems that I still need the fruit knife from the system to fully display my strength. Toru Watanabe simply threw the responsibility to the cheap fruit knife from the 100 yuan store. After Rin Kiyono finished eating and wiped her hands with a wet towel, Toru Watanabe looked out the window. The sun was already setting. Since you're fine, I'll leave first. He got up and prepared to leave. Okay. Sorry to trouble you today. Toru Watanabe waved his hand, picked up the box with the oboe on the sofa, and walked out of the ward. Chapter 87. Maybe it was because they were praised for their performances, or maybe they didn't want to be mocked by Toru Watanabe, but during the next 2 days of break, more and more members came to practice in the morning. It was Tuesday, and after the 3 days of break, it was time for normal school again. At noon, the results of the monthly test were announced. Even after studying hard, Toru Watanabe, who was first in the liberal arts, overestimated his science level. Once again, he ranked third by a small margin. But it didn't matter. He had already decided to work hard before he turned 25 to ensure that he could live a leisurely and prosperous life after that. Since he was going to work hard, It was actually a good thing to have a goal in front of him. As long as he could get first place in the national exam, it would be fine. At that time, he could publish a book called How I, who was born in an abandoned school in Iwate Prefecture, became the #1 in the country. It would be a hot-blooded youth novel. Maybe he could win the Japan Bookstore Award and adapt it into a TV series, movie, anime, manga, and live a decadent life of eating royalties at the age of 18. That was a good idea. When the last class was about to end, Toru Watanabe wrote down his schedule in his notebook. Third-year graduation spring break. Write a book. At the top of this paragraph he wrote, play music games instead. When the bell rang, Toru Watanabe closed his notebook and packed his bag. When he was about to go to the club building with Keisuke Saito, Aona Koizumi called him over. What's the matter, Koizumi-sensei? It's almost the end of the semester. The three-way interview will start next week. Watanabe, tell your family about it in advance. Oh, okay. Toru Watanabe nodded. The three-way interview was at the end of the semester. It was a three-way interview between the teachers, students, and parents. It was usually about the students' situation at school and their future career prospects. It was good news for the students of Kanagawa High School because the week of the interview, they only had half a day of class. In the afternoon, they could stay in school to participate in club activities or go to cram school. Aona Koizumi sized up Toru Watanabe and said with a smile, "You seem to have grown taller recently? Is that so?" Toru Watanabe compared himself with her, and found that he had indeed grown a little taller. The two of them got closer. Through the open collar of his shirt, she could vaguely see his gradually firm chest. Aona Koizumi felt a gush of hot air rush to her face. "How can you treat me as a ruler? There's a physical examination this Friday. I'll take a test then." She smiled and pushed Toru Watanabe away. Physical examination? What will the physical examination in Tokyo test? It's very normal. Vision, height, weight, blood pressure, heart, etc. Men and women together. What nonsense are you thinking? Aona Koizumi raised her hand and flicked Toru Watanabe's forehead. Your punishment is to clean the swimming pool at noon tomorrow. Toru Watanabe looked reluctant. It was so hot at noon. Aona Koizumi whispered, "There are benefits." Swimming pool benefits. I'd love to. After getting some school arrangements from Aona Koizumi in advance, Toru Watanabe went back to the classroom and called Keisuke Saito, who was waiting for him. The two of them went to the club building together. Why is Koizumi-sensei looking for you? Physical examination on Friday, interview next week. Also, swimming class is about to start. Swimming class? I heard that in Kamigawa, boys and girls are separated. There's no expectation at all. Next door Komiai High School is better. Although boys and girls are separated, it's only half of the swimming pool. Is that so? You don't know? I heard that Tokyo is very open, so I came here. Why is it like this? Toru Watanabe was very angry, thinking that he had been deceived. Openness has nothing to do with the region. There are open people everywhere and there are conservatives everywhere. Keisuke Saito comforted him and patted his shoulder. At the same time, he also comforted himself. 2D is better. That's right. In the hallway of the school building, the two of them reached a consensus. In the music classroom, before the ensemble, Rin Kiyono asked, "In this month's test, did anyone's results drop?" About 6 people raised their hands. Rin Kiyono asked them to stop training at noon and start the evening study session an hour earlier, but they refused. "Even if we enter the national competition, everything will end this summer. We want to work hard this time. As for the results, we will make up for it in the second and third semester." In their hearts, they finally had the idea that maybe we can really enter the national competition. This was good news for both the music department and the human observation department. As usual, training ended in the middle of the night. Everyone had a tired face. They hoped that everything they had put in would pay off. At noon the next day, Toru Watanabe was called to clean the swimming pool. In addition, there were a few girls in the same class. Keisuke Saito and Osamu Kanai, who were tricked by him, also went with them. Everyone changed into their summer sportswear. The boys were responsible for cleaning the pool, while the girls took care of the more delicate work such as the faucet. In the shallow pool, the three of them used a large mop to clean the pool walls. "Watanabe, you bastard. I'll kill you. Didn't you say that we could see the girls wet? They won't come over. Don't be impulsive. The broom is dirty, take it away. I was tricked too. It was Koizumi-sensei who told me that there would be benefits." After the two of them blamed Toru Watanabe, they talked about the recent anime. Did you guys watch the latest episode of Girls' Chariot? Oh, it was recorded, but we haven't watched it yet. Why? The main characters started fighting the Soviet tanks. Katyusha's canine teeth are so cute. Katyusha? Toru Watanabe was confused. Isn't that a song? Where did the canine teeth come from? Osamu Kanai explained. There's a young girl in it, not exactly a young girl, but a girl who looks like a young girl called Katyusha. She has very cute canine teeth, and then they sang Katyusha. They sang themselves? Osamu Kanai talked about how much he liked the girl who looked like a young girl, but it was still not enough. He raised the mop like a gun. For the Soviet Union. Hurrah! Just as the pear blossoms bloom all over the world, soft muslin floats on the river. Katyusha stands on the steep shore, singing like the bright spring. Together. Ah! Did this guy know about the War of the Four Northern Islands between Japan and Russia? Although Katyusha was famous, it was only a love song, so it didn't matter if they sang it. Anyway, it had nothing to do with him, a staunch socialist. Since they had nothing to do, the three of them were in high spirits. As they mopped the floor, they sang Katyusha loudly, which they could only roughly remember how to hum. It was a lively scene. The girl sings a beautiful song. She sings of the eagle of the grassland. She sings of the man she loves. She also hides a letter from her lover. Katyusha stands on the steep shore, singing like the bright spring. The song ended with Osamu Kanai shouting hurrah into the sky. The girls in the class, as well as the students in the classroom near the pool, looked at him as if he was an idiot. Toru Watanabe decided to stay away from him in the future. Although the man was a teenager until his death, he still had not recovered from his Chinibu illness. No matter how he thought about it, it was this guy's fault. As a card, he could not be addicted to the second dimension, Watanabe. After cleaning, Aona Koizumi bought everyone a bottle of iced drinks. This was the benefit she had mentioned. Toru Watanabe is really an idiot to have expectations for the benefits the teacher mentioned. Toru Watanabe opened the can and took a big gulp of carbonated water. Chapter 88. In the afternoon art class, Toru Watanabe imitated Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa and drew a Katyusha. Unfortunately, he had never seen a Soviet girl before, so Katyusha looked a bit like a Homo erectus, also known as a late ape man. Taking into account the geographical attributes, she could be classified as a Heidelberg ape man in more detail. The art teacher gave AC evaluation and said that the painting didn't look like it. Toru Watanabe really wanted to ask him, "Teacher, have you seen a Soviet girl before? If you haven't, why did you say that it didn't look like it?" But before he turned 25, he didn't want to waste time on such meaningless things. He still had a lot of important things to do. For example, studying how to deal with women's underwear and stockings. 8 o'clock in the evening, in the music classroom. Under the direction of Rin Kiyono, the members of Team A were working hard to perform an ensemble. Because they had been blowing on their mouths for a long time, everyone's lips began to ache, but they still played with all their strength. Rin Kiyono's baton was sometimes raised high and sometimes quickly waved down. The ensemble that carried the dream of Kanagawa High School echoed in the music classroom late at night. But it was quickly interrupted. At this time, except for the occasional teacher on duty who would come to check on the situation, no one would open the classroom door, but it was opened. And it was opened very rudely and rudely. Miki Kujo appeared in front of more than 60 people with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She was wearing a black dress, and her originally very thin waist was tightly wrapped, like a blooming black rose. Miki Kujo was the first to catch sight of Toru Watanabe, who was holding the oboe, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Rin Kiyono frowned and was about to say something, but when he saw Toru Watanabe stand up, He didn't say anything. Toru Watanabe quickly walked in front of Miki Kujo. Miki, why are you here? He lowered his voice and asked. Of course I want to see you. Miki Kujo ignored the rest of the 60 people and answered directly. Her voice, which was a little hoarse than usual, rippled in the quiet music classroom, making people's hearts itch. Toru Watanabe couldn't tell if he was embarrassed or touched his nose shyly. He turned to look at the others and said to her, I'm training. Don't do such boring things. Come and eat with me. All right. Satisfied, Miki Kujo placed her soft and cold hand into his palm. Then, she smiled and said to Rin Kiyono, who was in the commander's seat, Kiyono classmate, I'll take my Watanabe away first. Watanabe is the only oboe player in the ensemble, so we can't do without him. Rin Kiyono's expression was calm, and her tone was unusually cold. Then let's not do the ensemble today. Miki Kujo said indifferently. She looked at Toru Watanabe and said, Watanabe, what do you say? There's nothing more important than going on a date with you, Miki. Toru Watanabe looked at her affectionately. Then he raised his head and said to Rin Kiyono, Kiyono classmate, I think there's absolutely no problem with me. You can even go directly to the competition. You should train them well. I'll be leaving first today. The members of the instrument department had ugly expressions. Some people's eyes were even burning with anger. At this time, the beautiful sound of the bass horn suddenly sounded in the classroom. Toru Watanabe's heart skipped a beat. He was so nervous that his toes curled into a ball. Miki Kujo looked at Mayasahi. Mayasahi was looking down at the score. Her face was blocked by the bass horn. This classmate, you don't seem to want me to take Watanabe away? Yes. Mayasahi's lips moved away from the mouthpiece. She said calmly but firmly. Senpai Asahi, it's okay to play a little less together. Besides, today's almost over. Toru Watanabe quickly extinguished the signs of the Azura arena. He turned everyone's dissatisfaction with Mayasahi into the fact that she couldn't continue the training. Okay. Mayasahi unexpectedly nodded immediately. Her bangs swayed. Although her tone was as flat as usual, she actually looked a little obedient. This scared Toru Watanabe so much that his heart skipped a beat. Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes slightly. She smiled and looked at Mayasahi's side profile. Toru Watanabe used a lot of strength to hold her hand without hurting her. Miki, let's go. I recently found a good sushi restaurant. I'll take you there to try it. Miki Kujo glanced at him. Suddenly, the sound of a trombone came. Toru Watanabe looked at the sound. Yoshimi Tamamo was looking at him angrily. It can't be, Toru Watanabe tried hard to recall. He didn't seem to have offended her recently. Yoshimi Tamamo said angrily. It's fine if you deliberately attack people. Everyone tolerated it because you're the only oboe player. But now you actually left during training time. Everyone is working hard. The seniors even gave up on preparing for exams. Can you have some self-awareness? So it was like that. Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief. But then again, it turned out that Yoshimi Tamamo cared so much about club activities. In Toru Watanabe's heart, he subconsciously thought that people who associate with others because of money shouldn't have such a hard-working side. Sure enough, in the real world, everyone has a different face. Many times, the same person in different people's mouths will have completely different descriptions. They gave up on preparing for exams because their playing skills aren't good enough. I gave up training because I'm strong enough that I don't need to train. The reason is that simple. Toru Watanabe replied. Yoshimi Tamamo's almond eyes widened. Her pretty face was red with anger. She angrily played the trombone with all her strength. Why did you change your character? Miki Kujo asked with a smile. I learned how to play the oboe in half a month. These people are stupid and stupid. They keep dragging me down. I'm so angry. My temper is usually very good. Rin Kiyono looked at the blowing club member who really wanted to kill someone and helplessly sighed. If you want to leave, then leave quickly. Don't affect our training. Toru Watanabe immediately held Miki Kujo's hand and left the music room. On the way out of the school gate, Miki Kujo meaningfully sneered. You have a good relationship with that person, Asuka-senpai? There's no such thing. She probably likes me. Toru Watanabe's expression didn't change. But please rest assured, Miki-sama, my heart only has you. Is that so? Of course. The furthest distance in the world is to say and do it. Miki Kujo pointed at Toru Watanabe. You won't disappoint me, right? Absolutely not. Toru Watanabe promised. Miki Kujo snorted, but she was satisfied with Toru Watanabe's bad attitude towards other girls. Plus, she was too sleepy, so she let him go this time. Oh right, Miki, why did you suddenly come back? Miki Kujo yawned, faint tears in the corner of her eyes. The matter abroad is temporarily over. So we can go to school together again? You miss me that much? But it's a pity that it'll have to be next week. I need to rest this week. Miki Kujo said as she yawned again. When they reached the school gate, Miki Kujo suddenly said, Forget it, I'm going back to sleep. Ah. Toru Watanabe didn't react. The car door opened and Miki Kujo lazily sat down. What is she doing? Toru Watanabe had a stomach full of doubts. But forget it, today ended early. It's been a long time since I last went swimming. Before the car started, the back seat window opened and a pair of black pantyhose flew out in a parabola and landed in his arms. It was the same pantyhose that Miki Kujo was wearing. It was still warm and smelled good. Take it. Miki Kujo threw a teasing kiss and then disappeared behind the gradually rising car window. The car drove into the night. Toru Watanabe looked at the pantyhose in his hand. After all this fuss, she was just here to give him trash? How preposterous. Chapter 89. On Wednesday, Toru Watanabe's first swimming class in high school began. The sun was so bright that it almost looked like a mirage. When he was in elementary school in his hometown, there were swimming classes. At that time, Toru Watanabe knew how to swim, but it was just for fun. He could swim the breaststroke and paddle as he pleased. His only teacher didn't teach them anything. He was only responsible for sitting there and eating cold watermelon drinks, while keeping an eye on their safety. He only started to swim after the Imperial Tea incident. It wasn't just swimming. Many things had changed since then. Now he could swim like an athlete. Class 1 and Class 4 were still together, but the boys and girls were completely separated. They could only hear the girls' screams and laughter through the wall. After changing into their swimsuits, the boys gathered by the pool. The sky was very blue. It was beautiful, like an oil painting, but the sun made their skin hurt. The PE teacher had a whistle around his neck and was talking about the things to pay attention to in swimming. Ah, I want to go there. Osamu Kunai looked at the womanland across the wall and said, Later, we'll sneak in and wear women's swimsuits. Toru Watanabe told him the plan. I see. Osamu Kunai punched his fist. The problem is, where do we get the Sakumizu? Keisuke Saito analyzed further. The topic ended. After the PE teacher finished talking, everyone went to the shower area to wash their bodies. The front walked while the back walked. It was like waiting in line to wash a car. The air was full of water vapor and the pungent smell of chlorine disinfectant. After the warm-up exercises, everyone went into the water. After the first half of the class, they could swim freely in the second half. The boys were 1 meter away from the pool. The PE teacher scolded them loudly. This time they stopped their dangerous behavior. The third lane. Watanabe is swimming so fast. Ah. Koi didn't dare to fall behind. He used 3x Kaioken. He's overtaking. He's overtaking. Oh. Look over there. That is. Sato's 5x Kaioken. So fast. Too fast. What? I just received news that Watanabe is going to use his killer move. Serious swimming. It was just the 3 of them who suddenly had the idea to compete. But this group of high school boys actually described it as the 99th Universe Martial Arts Conference. Right, 3x and 5x Kaioken. Toru Watanabe didn't know what they were, but the so-called serious swimming was just swimming with all his strength. Watanabe, why are you so powerful? First it was tennis, then it was swimming. If this continues, I won't even be your opponent in baseball in the future. Swimming like a dolphin. Too fast. Some of the boys even thought that Toru Watanabe would have no problem becoming a swimmer. Toru Watanabe did not want to be a swimmer. If he were to do whatever he was good at, he would probably die of exhaustion. Also, for the sake of the textbook editor, it was better not to stand out too much. Scholar, Olympic gold medalist in swimming, world-class oboe player, world-class boxer. He was only 16 years old. It was hard to imagine how many more titles he would have in the future. At night, in the activity classroom of the Human Observation Department, Rin Kiyono walked in with a record player with an iron triangle logo. The world was silent. It was so dark outside the window that nothing could be seen, but the glass clearly reflected people's faces. Apart from the music department on the third floor, there was not a single extra light in the school building. Toru Watanabe felt a bit lonely. He thought about how he came to the metropolis alone, far away from his hometown in Iwate Prefecture. In order to dispel the sudden unhappiness, he retracted his gaze and looked curiously at Rin Kiyono playing with the record player. Kiyono-san, can I ask you a question? Rin Kiyono carefully took out the vinyl record from the square paper bag. Life obviously originated from the ocean, but humans can't breathe in the water. What do you think? I don't have any opinions, Qing Yiling replied without even raising his head. Don't you think it's strange? Why don't we humans evolve into amphibious animals like frogs, turtles, and red chain snakes? The ocean is much more abundant than the continent in terms of area and resources. You can choose to become a biologist and then figure out these questions, instead of asking a girl in the same grade for answers at night, and talking about such annoying topics like frogs and snakes. A biologist? I don't really want to do that. Toru Watanabe thought about it and rejected this suggestion. You say it like you'll definitely be able to do it. If I didn't play the oboe, I would already be one. Rin Kiyono's expression was serious. Watanabe-san, your mental illness is getting worse and worse. Now there's also a problem with your self-awareness. You really need to seek medical treatment right now. Tetsumasa Watanabe wanted to refute, but Rin Kiyono put the stylus on the slowly rotating record. The sound was bright and lively. A melody that was as lively as a cat's step slowly sounded. The trombone roared, the horn ensemble played, the clarinet and bass drum roared, and the oboe solo played. The sound was continuous, like the water of the Yangtze River pouring into one's ears, and then the sound waves quickly receded like the ebbing tide. Toru Watanabe picked up the record and looked at the title of the song. 4 Seasons of Prosperity, Wind Music Version. Composer, Hidaichi Chuan. Performance, Elite Girls High School Wind Music Club. Rin Kiyono across from him leaned her left elbow on the table and held her chin, while her right hand held a pen and kept writing something. Toru Watanabe listened silently, his fingers tapping in the air along with the music score. The beautiful music, in the empty schoolroom with the lights on at night, brewed an intimate and harmonious atmosphere. Do you want to choose this song? After the music ended, Toru Watanabe asked. Yeah. Rin Kiyono nodded. In the wind music competition, each wind band had to play a theme song and a free song. 4 Seasons of Prosperity, Wind Music Version, was one of the free songs that could be chosen this year. This song was produced by the Wind Music Club, a first-rate composer, Hidaichi Chuan. A few years ago, this song was chosen as a free song by Elite Girls High School, and received a national award, immediately becoming famous. Now it was one of the regular songs of the competition. Speaking of this song's characteristics, it had to be mentioned that its composer was a graduate of Musashino University of Music, Hidaichi Chuan. When Hidaichi Chuan was young, he was active on the music stage as a professional oboe player, so his arrangement was biased towards the oboe. Exaggeratedly speaking, this song's bottom line depended on the whole band, and its top line depended on the oboe player's performance. A wise choice. Toru Watanabe said confidently. Rin Kiyono pretended not to hear Toru Watanabe's beautiful words that seemed to be praising himself. Toru Watanabe said again. But you didn't discuss it with them and decided on your own, is it really okay? If you want society to progress, democratic voting is the stupidest choice. I understand. Toru Watanabe nodded in agreement. Ultraman's mission is to force stupid humans to evolve, isn't it? Rin Kiyono didn't understand what Toru Watanabe was talking about at all. She looked at Toru Watanabe as if she was looking at an idiot. Toru Watanabe didn't blush at all and changed the topic. So it's because you don't want to fail, so you decided to choose your own song? That's not the only reason. Aha. Toru Watanabe didn't deny it. Rin Kiyono saw his attitude and felt inexplicably angry, and wanted to punch him. She explained. Their musical knowledge is uneven, and they will only choose based on whether their parts are good or not, as well as the popularity of the song. The song of the competition will affect the survival of the human observation department, and I will do my best to eliminate all the options that will lead to useless parts. Is that so? Toru Watanabe still didn't believe her. This man, he knows that I won't lie. Rin Kiyono took a deep breath. There's another reason. The biggest advantage of the blowing department is your oboe. And this is also the biggest reason why I decided to choose my own song. With how much the blowing department hated Toru Watanabe, they probably wouldn't choose this song that relied on the oboe. Toru Watanabe covered his head with his hands, leaned back on the steel chair, looked at the ceiling, and sighed in satisfaction. Rin Kiyono held back and didn't throw the eraser at him. At 9 o'clock, Rin Kiyono directly expressed her opinion in the music classroom. The theme song for this competition is March for Endless Dreams, and the free song is Prosperous Four Seasons, blown version. These two songs. Masaki Komatsu, the head of the blowing department, wanted to say something but stopped. The members who hadn't heard of these two songs looked at her curiously. What's wrong, head? Is it difficult? Yes. Masaki Komatsu nodded. March for Endless Dreams is full of story, and it focuses on musical performance. Prosperous Four Seasons requires a very, very high level of performance and performance skills. But what? Everyone couldn't wait to ask. Masaki Komatsu looked at Rin Kiyono, hesitating whether she should say it or not. Toru Watanabe took over the topic. Starting from the middle section, you can take a break. With your current level, you'll be able to set off my superb skills, so just wait for the prize. What do you mean? A member who hadn't realized what was going on asked. For the first song, the solo part is the bass horn, trombone, and oboe. Prosperous Four Seasons. This song is a bit special, and a large part of it is the oboe's free play. Kaoru Hayami, who also knew these two songs, explained. Everyone realized what was going on, and began to talk about it. Most of them had unwillingness on their faces. Rin Kiyono looked at everyone. Whether it's the selection of people or the selection of songs, everything is done with the goal of entering the country. If anyone thinks that there's a better choice, you can raise it now. Yoshimi Tamamo said loudly, since it all depends on the oboe's performance, can't we just practice a little? She was obviously angry. The solo is a bonus, but the real good or bad still depends on everyone's performance, Rin Kiyono replied. Someone else asked. Then why do we have to let him play the solo? Can't we choose a bassoon solo or a trumpet solo? My Asahi was good at playing, but the bass horn wasn't a very outstanding instrument, so no one said that they would choose a bass horn solo. You should know the reason very well, Toru Watanabe said. What? Because my playing skills are indisputably the best in the history of the blowing section. His matter-of-fact tone made many people's faces turn red. Whether or not he's the best in history is not clear. Rin Kiyono looked at the arrogant Toru Watanabe. But he is indeed the best player in the blowing section. I don't accept it. Morning C-senpai and Tomorrow senpai are definitely better than him. That's right, it's too unfair. Since the members of Group A are selected, then the soloist should also be selected. Without waiting for Rin Kiyono to speak, Toru Watanabe stood up and walked to the podium with his oboe. If you want to challenge me, then come. I, Toru Watanabe, will let you guys who are worse than trash know the difference between geniuses and mortals. Ah, cool. I can finally do what a protagonist should do. He, Toru Watanabe, never wanted to take a girl's underwear and stockings. What he wanted was to work hard, struggle, be hot-blooded, and be number one. Of course, this was his life before the age of 25. under the dazzling white light of the music room. Toru Watanabe looked at everyone expectantly. Everyone's face turned red, and they looked at Mayasahi. Mayasahi also seemed very angry. Her expressionless face was tinged with a faint red, and she was staring at the arrogant Toru Watanabe on the podium. But, wasn't she looking at him for too long? Why didn't she go up? That's right, Mayasahi didn't care about this, as long as she could play. After thinking it through, everyone turned to look at Kaoru Hayami. Kaoru Hayami helplessly smiled bitterly, and looked at Rin Kiyono. Seeing her nod, he stood up and walked forward with a hookah-shaped bassoon. Watanabe classmate, please let me see your strength. Seeing Kaoru Hayami's gentle smile as always, Toru Watanabe lost his fighting spirit. This good-natured senior was forced by everyone to come up. What he needed was an enemy who looked down on him, and even wanted to use underhanded means. He, Toru Watanabe, wasn't a bad person, and he didn't have the habit of using his strength to provoke people. However, in order to attract hatred, motivate everyone to practice, and obediently listen to Rin Kiyono's guidance, and ensure that the band entered the national competition, he needed to continue being the bad guy. Then you go first. Good morning, senior. Toru Watanabe said. He was worried that if he played first, she would be under a lot of pressure. Thank you. After Kaoru Hayami finished speaking, the delicate and gentle bassoon notes filled the entire music room. Whether it was the high notes or the difficult notes, everything was perfect. There wasn't a single flaw to be found. The timbre was bright and made everyone's hearts beat faster. Everyone closed their eyes, intoxicated by the music. Kaoru Hayami's level was much higher than before. Toru Watanabe could tell from her performance that she had put in a lot of hard work. After the performance, there was a warm round of applause. Kaoru Hayami smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied with his performance. Watanabe classmate, it's your turn. Okay. The smooth melody was so smooth that it was almost impossible to feel the changes in the notes. Every note had a lingering charm that made people feel hot all over. After Toru Watanabe finished his performance, the entire music room was silent. Only Mayasahi was there, clapping indifferently and seemingly perfunctorily. Everyone who came back to their senses looked at her with admiration. As expected of a senior, such a pure musical heart. The ashamed crowd also applauded. Miki Kujo is already back. Senior, if you continue like this junior will really die. Toru Watanabe looked at Mayasahi's swollen breasts, and guess what she was thinking? Hayami classmate, I've decided to let Watanabe classmate play the solo piece. What do you think? Rin Kiyono asked. I don't have any objections. Watanabe classmate plays better than me. He's also a member of the Blowing Club. There's no problem with him playing the solo. Kaoru Hayami said with a smile. He wasn't disappointed at all. Rin Kiyono nodded and ordered everyone. Everyone, come here and get the sound file of the piece. Save it in the player and listen to it every day. You must memorize the score. Don't let the judges write. What are the others here for except for the oboe? Yes. At 11:30, on the way back. Senior tomorrow seems to be angry. Rin Kiyono said. Is she? Toru Watanabe was puzzled. It's the first time I've seen her angry. You're really too arrogant. It's all for you. Lies. Rin Kiyono denied without hesitation, and then said, do you want to talk to her alone? With tomorrow's personality, she'll help us keep it a secret. No. Toru Watanabe refused without thinking. Alone? He was still worried about how to avoid being caught alone by her. How could he send himself to her door? What's the reason? Rin Kiyono, as always, would ask for others' opinions. I can't talk to people who aren't interested in playing cards. Chapter 90. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday. Because of the physical examination, the hallway was full of students in sportswear. The time of the physical examination was free. The class leader gave out a form for everyone to go to the physical examination location and fill in the form. Because there was plenty of time, many people were doing things that had nothing to do with the physical examination. Toru Watanabe and the other two walked along the hallway and saw a group of girls sitting in a group chatting. There were also groups of boys who were kicking each other's butts. There were also a lot of boys and girls who were using the excuse of sharing information about the physical examination to enjoy their youth. Hey Joaquin, let me see your eyesight and height. No. Unless you also let me see Yame-chan. You actually want to exchange the physical examination form with a girl, H. But you can't, Yame-chan, today is Chinese Valentine's Day Damn it. Osamu Kunai cursed in a low voice. Sooner or later I'll burn you guys to death. I also want to exchange the physical examination form with a girl. Keisuke Saito looked envious. Osamu Kunai said with disdain. You just want to know a girl's measurements, right? That's you. It's you. Stop arguing, I have a way. Toru Watanabe made a gesture of pushing up his glasses. So it's you, ba? No, it's really you, Watanabe. Tell me. Toru Watanabe smiled, and the girl who was walking towards him accidentally bumped into her friend's back. As a prestigious private school, Kanagawa High School attached great importance to the annual physical examination, especially the internal medicine examination, which was almost equivalent to a formal physical examination. When Toru Watanabe learned from Aono Koizumi that the annual internal medicine examination was carried out by the medical team sent by the affiliated hospital of Shuntian University, he knew that the school was finished. He sincerely hoped that no one would provoke Miki Kujo. Otherwise, during the physical examination, they would suddenly be told that they had a heart attack, and then be sent to the hospital without knowing what was going on, and die of a heart attack one day. However, Miki Kujo was relatively restrained in school, and the students and teachers knew that she was powerful, so they wouldn't provoke her, so they should be safe. The only one who was in danger of having a heart attack was her boyfriend, Toru Watanabe. He had digressed back to how he knew the 3 measurements of the girls. Because there were professional doctors using professional medical equipment to conduct examinations, the original school doctor, Miyazaki Miyuki, was assigned the task of testing one's eyesight, which anyone could do. The visual acuity test was held in a classroom on the 3rd floor. The students covered one eye and pointed in the direction of the letters with their fingers. After measuring his vision, Toru Watanabe walked over. Miyazaki-sensei. Young man, you have good eyesight. Miyazaki Miyuki returned the form to Toru Watanabe. Thank you, teacher. By the way, Toru Watanabe suddenly remembered something and said, Teacher, my physical examination is over. Let me help you fill in the form. You just need to be responsible for the test. Miyazaki Miyuki thought about it. This would indeed be much more efficient. I'll have to trouble you then, young man. It's no trouble. Good young man, I'll help you put in a good word in front of Seinai. Then I'll have to trouble you. Toru Watanabe walked to the door of the classroom and shouted to the scattered students. Everyone, please line up and give me the physical examination form. I'll take the test according to the order. Seeing Toru Watanabe nonchalantly taking away the girls' physical examination forms, Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito secretly gave him a thumbs up. The top secret information was in his hands, but Toru Watanabe didn't immediately look at it. He didn't know what the 3 measurements meant at all. How big were they? But he would know soon enough. Toru Watanabe seemed like he really wanted to help Miyazaki Miyuki. Except when filling in the visual acuity number, he didn't look at the physical examination form. He looked like a gentleman. But as everyone knew, Toru Watanabe's memory was already very good. Now that he had the encyclopedic knowledge, he could memorize pi to 10 decimal places with just a glance. The 3 measurements were at most 7 digits. It was very simple. After helping Keisuke Saito cheat, secretly pointing in the right direction, to get 2-2. 0 vision, he tested 2 more boys. Finally, it was the girl's turn to take the physical examination form. It was a second-year girl named Masako Yudo. When the other party took the visual acuity test, Toru Watanabe carefully looked at her, and then when filling in the numbers he remembered the 3 measurements. Chest 81 centimeters, waist 55 centimeters, hip 83 cm, 81 is big, a 55 waist is very thin, and a 83 hip is very perky, a good figure. The next one was named Takahashi Tashi. Bust size 73, waist size 65. Hip size 84 foot, small chest and thick waist. Student, I can recommend you the best skinny waist tutorial. It only takes 5 minutes a day, and you can have a vest line in a month. The next one, Yoshimi Tamamo? Chest 85, waist 55, hip 84-foot huge. Toru Watanabe reminded himself that he must have a literary eye, the integrity of a judge. Yes, a perky front and perky back, a slender waist, just like her name, so beautiful, so beautiful. When taking away the physical examination form, Yoshimi Tamamo stared at Toru Watanabe with her almond-shaped eyes. It was not that she found out about his behavior, it was just a habit she had recently developed. The next one, after everyone finished the physical examination, Toru Watanabe had just walked out of the classroom when Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito hooked their arms around his neck. How was it? Is there any important information? What do you want to know? Toru Watanabe said calmly. I want to know Miyazaki Miyuki's. Idiot, Keisuke Saito scolded Osamu Kunai. Teacher doesn't do physical examinations. Where would she get the physical examination form? That's true. Not necessarily. Toru Watanabe smiled and denied. You know, after a large amount of data, I can now deduce everyone's 3 measurements. You can do that? As expected of you, Master Watanabe. Osamu Kunai's eyes shone. Then hurry up and tell us. Keisuke Saito urged. Toru Watanabe closed his eyes, his brain quickly building a data model called Miyazaki Miyuki's body. And a ruler continuously measured all kinds of data. According to my close observation, teacher's height is around 163 centimeters, and her legs are 67 centimeters long, which accounts for 41% of her height. The ratio is perfect. We want her 3 measurements. Shallow the legs are. Forget it. The width of the physical examination form is 29.7 centimeters. So I can calculate that teacher's waist is around 17 centimeters wide, and her chest is around 33 centimeters wide. Then according to my long-term observation, the side waist is 13 centimeters wide, the hip is 23 centimeters wide, no 22 centimeters wide, the side chest is... Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito did not even understand what Toru Watanabe was saying, let alone follow his train of thought. Based on these data, we can build a cross-section model and use the arc radius calculation formula to calculate all the data we want. I really want only one. Toru Watanabe opened his eyes, lowered his head slightly, and there was a cold glint in the corner of his eyes. Miyazaki-sensei's 3 measurements are 91, 59, 8. Toru Watanabe's voice stopped abruptly. Young man, what are you doing? Miyazaki Miyuki, who had appeared behind him, said. We're discussing a math problem. A math problem? Why did I hear you talking about your 3 measurements? No. Are you or are you not? Miyazaki Miyuki lowered her voice, her words full of pressure. It's the 3 measurements, but it's a math problem about the 3 measurements. Young man, your future is bleak. Why are you using your smart brain to do such erotic things? I'll tell Anai about this. And the 2 of you. It has nothing to do with us. It's Watanabe's. That's right. We stopped it. It's all his idea. He's also the one who implemented it. One of the 6 sentences was a lie. How did you stop it? Can't you be an honest person? Toru Watanabe was so angry that his teeth hurt. Could there be more people like Rin Kiyono in this world? I see. Miyazaki Miyuki nodded and said, the 2 of you, if you don't want me to tell Aonai about this, you're not allowed to discuss this in the future. Next week, there'll be a meeting between the 3 parties. Do you understand? Understood, understood. When the 2 of them imagined the scene of their parents being informed, their faces turned pale. We have to tell our parents. Toru Watanabe was dizzy. It's up to Aonai to tell our parents. I see, that's good. He breathed a sigh of relief. Although Aona Koizumi would definitely lecture her, she probably wouldn't tell her parents. Also, Miyazaki Miyuki grinned. I'll tell your girlfriend about this. Miyazaki-sensei. Toru Watanabe made a clean 90-degree bow. This is a once-in-a-lifetime request, please let me go this time. No. Miyazaki Miyuki rejected without thinking. This is to make you a loyal Tokyo handsome guy, young man. As she turned to leave, she muttered softly, "Who told you to tell others about my measurements?" Toru Watanabe's world turned dark, and the world lost its color. Watanabe. Watanabe. Are you okay? Send him to the infirmary. I'm fine. Toru Watanabe pushed the two of them away and took out his phone. Miki. What's the matter? I was wrong. We'll talk tonight. Miki Kujo's voice was emotionless. She didn't ask anything and just hung up. Toru Watanabe felt that his life might be coming to an end. I hate breasts. Damn breasts. There was a class meeting after the physical examination, and then school was dismissed. Aona Koizumi walked into the classroom with her lesson plan, but before she reached the podium, she said, "Watanabe, stand at the back." Yes. Toru Watanabe stood up weakly and walked to the back of the classroom. Osamu Kunai and Keisuke Saito looked at Toru Watanabe sympathetically. The other students in the class looked over curiously. Aona Koizumi liked Toru Watanabe the most. What was going on? Aona Koizumi didn't explain and directly said, "The class meeting will now begin. There will be a three-way meeting next week. Remember to tell your parents when you go back." After 2 minutes, she looked up and saw Toru Watanabe's dejected face, and couldn't help but soften. "Go back to your seat." "Thank you, teacher. Be careful when you go out this weekend. The final exam is coming soon, and you can't relax." After school, Aona Koizumi called Toru Watanabe to her office. Miyazaki Miyuki was sitting in Aona Koizumi's seat, chatting with Huangzi while eating snacks. Seeing Aona Koizumi come in, Huangzi said, "Aonai, are you done?" "Almost done." They seemed to be going somewhere to play. When they saw Toru Watanabe walk into the office, the two women laughed at the same time. "Watanabe, I heard that you peeked at the measurements of all the girls in the school, and even used them as a database to estimate the size of all the girls' breasts." Huangzi held a potato chip in her hand and teased. "Huangzi," Aona Koizumi helplessly shouted. "It's nothing, it's just a portion of the girls, and it's just a guess, I'm just saying," Toru Watanabe said awkwardly. Miyazaki Miyuki didn't mind blowing things up, and said with a smile, "Young man, don't be humble. You guessed all my measurements correctly." "What a wild guess. Come and try." Huangzi clasped her hands and said, "I'll give you 1 minute to calculate our Aonai's measurements." Toru Watanabe subconsciously glanced at Aona Koizumi's chest. Why would he need a minute? Chest circumference 84, waist circumference. Aona Koizumi hit his head with the lesson plan. "Where are you looking? You want to stand as punishment?" This is a student's instinct to answer a teacher's question. "Teacher, please believe me, only to you I..." Instinct. Aona Koizumi hit him again in annoyance. Miyazaki Miyuki and Huangzi laughed, and accidentally crushed the chips in their hands. Aona Koizumi saw that although Toru Watanabe was talking nonsense as usual, his expression was always gloomy and comforted him. "Don't worry, Watanabe, I won't tell your parents about this." "Thank you, teacher." Toru Watanabe nodded and said. Aona Koizumi saw that he didn't relax, and asked with concern, "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood?" "It's nothing." Toru Watanabe forced a smile. Would he have to follow the car on Shinjuku Avenue again tonight? Or would he have to do radio exercises naked? Or would he be asked to fight with Shizuru? "I hope she's fine." Toru Watanabe prayed in his heart without any hope. "Are you worried that I'll tell your girlfriend, young man?" Toru Watanabe didn't say anything. "Don't worry, I'm just scaring you." Miyazaki Miyuki crunched the chips. "Scaring me? Really?" "Of course, I don't know your girlfriend." Miyazaki Miyuki licked her fingers. As expected of a healthcare teacher, her actions were very professional and very erotic. The jade-like succulent on Aona Koizumi's desk was freshly watered, plump and cute. The cold air from the air conditioner in the corner messed up the textbooks. Outside the window, under the 4 o'clock sun, cicadas chirped incessantly. Toru Watanabe's world suddenly came alive. "Thank you, teacher. I'll never do such a thing again." Miyazaki Miyuki waved her hand, and took a chip from Huangzi. "From this incident, I can understand why Aonai likes you. You're a very smart young man." "You're too kind. I'm just using other people's rest time to summarize and think." Thinking about math questions about your measurements. Huangzi teased. It doesn't have to be about my measurements. Toru Watanabe straightened his back. I like all kinds of math questions. My goal is to get first place in science in this final exam. I suddenly feel that smart people are scary. Huangzi shrugged. Me too. Miyazaki Miyuki nodded in agreement. Aona Koizumi looked at her two friends with dissatisfaction and said to Toru Watanabe, It's fine if you like math questions, but the exam won't ask you to calculate the size of a girl's breasts, so you don't have to do math questions about this in the future. Teacher, I'm not interested in breasts, I'm really just studying math questions. Oh young man, what school are you from? If I must say legs. Aonai's legs are amazing. Huangzi reached out to touch Aona Koizumi's legs like a fool, but she pushed his hand away. You two. No, there are 3 of you. What do you want? Watanabe, hurry up and join the club activities. Yes. Toru Watanabe walked out of the classroom office with light steps. Then he met Miki Kujo at the corner. She was wearing her school uniform today, a short-sleeved white shirt, a butterfly tie, a pleated skirt, and black pantyhose that wrapped around her legs. Miki Kujo's body proportions were very good, slim but not bony, white and tender legs long and thin, and her waist so thin that it seemed like it could be held in one hand. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and smiled as she waited for Toru Watanabe to walk over. Miki, you came to school today? To pick you up. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe. Your tie is crooked. The boys' school uniform was a white short-sleeved shirt, a white, gray and black tie, and a navy blue shirt. Miki Kujo reached out and took Toru Watanabe's tie and hung it around her slender neck. Then she helped him straighten the collar of his shirt and then helped him put on his tie again. People came and went in the corridor, and everyone looked at this scene that was like a scene from a cartoon. The boys looked at Toru Watanabe enviously, wishing that they could replace him. The girls were envious of Miki Kujo, but they also looked greedily at Toru Watanabe's slightly raised face, which was warmed by the sun. Miki, I can do this myself. Toru Watanabe ignored the outside world and only looked at Miki Kujo's eyes. You're my boyfriend, it's my responsibility to help you put on your tie, and it's also my right. Miki, I love you. Good boy, I love you too. Then can you loosen my tie a little? Toru Watanabe's tongue was about to stick out. That depends on your answer. Tell me, what did you do to let me down? Miki Kujo, who was 10 centimeters shorter than Toru Watanabe, leaned into Toru Watanabe's arms to keep his tie tight. Their chests were against each other. Ah, it's just like a shoujo manga. I want to lean into Kun Watanabe's arms too. Toru Watanabe's brain started to lack oxygen, and he had to think hard. But all that popped up in his head were formulas to calculate her 3 measurements. 3 measurements. Yoshimi Tamamo. Miyuki Miyazaki Tonita's tongue my tongue. Masakazako. Got it. He put his hand on Miki Kujo's waist and said apologetically, It's Chinese Valentine's Day today, I forgot to prepare a present. Miki Kujo's voice rose and fell, making one's heart itch. Is it because of this? I'm a terrible person who doesn't prepare a present for my girlfriend on Chinese Valentine's Day. Miki Kujo helped Tetsumasa Watanabe adjust his tie to the most beautiful position, and then let go of his hand. How should I punish you? Anything is fine. Toru Watanabe's hand slowly slid up the curve of her slender back. When he touched her underwear, Miki Kujo looked over. Toru Watanabe smiled awkwardly and took the opportunity to withdraw his hand and put some distance between them. At this time, Miki Kujo's followers walked over. Kujo-san, you're back. That's great. It's been a while, Momoyo Yuki Saiko. Miki Kujo nodded at the 3. Thank you for your hard work, Kujo-san. Kujo-san, I think you and Watanabe-san are very compatible. Please invite me to your wedding. Me too. Wedding. Before Toru Watanabe could complain in his heart, Miki Kujo looked over with a smile. Watanabe, what do you think? Please. Of course, please. Thank you, Watanabe-san. You're welcome. Toru Watanabe smiled at the 3. Looking at the 3's infatuated expressions, Miki Kujo unceremoniously reached out to Toru Watanabe's waist and twisted it. I said, come over. I hate it when you smile. I haven't seen you in a long time, I'm happy. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but raise his eyebrows in pain. Sweet words. Miki Kujo sneered and tightened her grip. Hiss. Chapter 91. When did the Chinese Valentine's Day spread to Japan? Since when did Japan stop celebrating Chinese Valentine's Day and start celebrating Chinese Valentine's Day on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month? Would the cowherd and the weaver girl reunite twice because of this? Probably not. How could there be such a good thing? The first year of the Gregorian calendar started from the birth of Jesus. To the Queen Mother, it was like the birth of a child next door. It had nothing to do with her own family. It doesn't matter what happens to the cowherd and the weaver girl. Toru Watanabe was more worried about how he was going to spend the Chinese Valentine's Day. He rubbed his aching waist and followed Miki Kujo to the activity room of the Human Observation Department. The activity room had not changed at all, including the girl sitting by the window reading. The sun was shining brightly, and the cicadas were chirping incessantly. Qingyi Rin was reading a book. This was a scene that he could still remember clearly even after many years. Toru Watanabe looked at the book in her hand. It was a red cover exercise book. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a lot of information on her, he would have laughed out loud. It seemed that Rin Kiyono also felt threatened and started to work hard to maintain her first place in the school. Toru Watanabe looked at Miki Kujo's slim back. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't get his hands on a tank and a driver, he would have asked her if she had also started to study. Miki Kujo also noticed that Rin Kiyono was reading a book. However, she was not as polite as Toru Watanabe and laughed out loud. Kiyono, are you afraid? Miki Kujo mocked. What's wrong with studying as a student? Rin Kiyono's eyes were still on the red cover book. Are you afraid that I will only spend half of your time in school and still get first place in the final exam? You are so narcissistic. She is obviously afraid of me. Toru Watanabe thought to himself. Rin Kiyono denied her words. Let's talk about it after you get first place. Rin Kiyono's answer didn't satisfy Toru Watanabe. Miki Kujo didn't want to talk about this boring topic. She changed the topic and said, your mother asked me to pick you up. Let's go. Rin Kiyono continued to scroll down. I still have club activities, so I'll go there later. Up to you. Miki Kujo was also dealing with an errand. She turned around and prepared to leave. Do I have to go too? Toru Watanabe asked her. Of course. Miki Kujo turned her head slightly, as if she could see through his body. You want to stay with her? Or do you want to stay in a music classroom full of women? What are you talking about? Toru Watanabe grumbled and opened the door for her. I just want to know if I want to go or not. Why are you jealous? Really? You'd better behave yourself. Miki, have you seen The Great Gatsby? There's a sentence in it. Everyone thinks they have at least one basic virtue, and I'm honest. My love for you is deeper than the Thousand Islands Trench. I remember that the Thousand Islands Trench is the second deepest trench in Japan, right? Who's the first? Don't pull my tie. I'm suffocating. Listen to me. The first is my parents. Change it for me. From now on, I'm the first. You need time to accumulate. No problem. Not to mention Japan's #1 trench. Even the world's #1 Mariana Trench is not a problem. If it weren't for the fact that she didn't like to shout, Rin Kiyono would definitely shut up Toru Watanabe, who disappeared in the corridor. Forget it. Next time, let's not talk about trenches. Let's change it to mountains. Although Toru Watanabe was full of lies, his ability to apply what he had learned could not be underestimated. She took out her phone and began to search for the height ranking of mountains in Japan. Of course, she remembered the first to third highest mountains, but she planned to start from the 10th. After checking the information and memorizing the name and height, she subconsciously looked out of the window to relax her tired eyes. She happened to see Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo walking on the school's main road. Both of them were tall and slender. One of them was fair and beautiful, the other was handsome. They looked very compatible. When they disappeared into the green leaves of the tall oak tree, Rin Kiyono retracted her gaze. It was still the same luxurious car. Toru Watanabe sat in his usual seat. Miki Kujo was facing him. Her hand was on the door handle, and her leg was crossed. She had the aura of a rich lady overlooking a commoner. Her waist was very thin, but at the same time, her chest was swollen. Her legs were slender and round. It made Chun Fan want to put his arm around her waist and press her chest against his chest. Then he would caress her legs with his hand. However, so far, no one had ever done such a thing. Even Toru Watanabe, who was the most promising candidate, had to work harder. I'm so looking forward to it. But then again, many politicians, entrepreneurs, and writers are frequent visitors to the red light district. Even physicists such as Einstein and Schrödinger have had sex scandals. From this, it can be seen that liking beautiful women does not affect one's achievements. Maybe beauty and wealth are the biggest motivators for a man to work hard. Toru Watanabe slowly raised his head. The 9 beauties noticed his line of sight and deliberately crossed their legs to tease him. Their lips curled into an ambiguous and disdainful smile. Her seductive look made Toru Watanabe come to his senses. Toru Watanabe, oh Toru Watanabe, can't you be more mature? She is Miki Kujo, and you are the man who will stand at the top of the world. To calm down, Toru Watanabe looked at the robot, Still Flow, who was sitting furthest away from him. Looking away from Miki Kujo, who had 9 points of charm, Toru Watanabe finally calmed down. It was not that Still Flow was ugly, but she was not beautiful enough to make him lose his mind. Long time no see, Miss Still Flow. He greeted her softly. Still Flow did not move, as if she did not hear him. Therefore, Toru Watanabe could only look out of the window and enjoy the scenery along the way. Along the way, he saw someone driving a go-kart on the street with balloons tied to it. Toru Watanabe instinctively looked out the window. What are you looking at? Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes. Go-kart. When the team of go-kart cars gradually disappeared, Toru Watanabe sat up straight again. At this time, Miki Kujo's expression was extremely terrifying, as if she wanted to eat him. What's wrong with you? Toru Watanabe was shocked, and subconsciously thought that she would ask Still Flow to throw him out of the car again. How dare you? I am right in front of you, and you dare to look at other things. It's a go-kart. The drivers are all men in their 30s, can't I do that? No. This is too much, isn't it? Looks like you didn't remember the rule of 90 Kujo that I told you. As long as I am here, you can only look at me, understand? Yes, I understand. Toru Watanabe pretended to be in a difficult position. Miki, you may not know, but 16-year-old boys are very impulsive. You are so charming. I am afraid that I can't control myself and do something too much. Something too much. Miki Kujo took off her right shoe, put it on Toru Watanabe's stomach and slowly slid it down. Is it like this? Looking at her smiling face, Toru Watanabe was about to cry. Who knew if she would suddenly step on it? Toru Watanabe's expression, and the hard touch through his stockings, made Miki Kujo's smile deepen. Don't do this. Toru Watanabe grabbed her ankle, not letting her move. His body was very healthy after exercise, and he couldn't resist temptation, and he was at the age where his mind was filled with women. Let go. Miki Kujo ordered. Toru Watanabe was speechless, and could only look at Still Flow awkwardly, hoping that Miki Kujo would give up. Shy. Miki Kujo chuckled, but she didn't intend to let him go. Still Flow. Yes. Receiving the order, Still Flow immediately turned her back, standing there like a wall. Miki Kujo lifted her chin slightly, signaling Toru Watanabe to let go of her ankle. The car arrived at Kujo's mother's spacious house. The two first went to take a shower and change clothes, and this time Toru Watanabe was not taken to Miki Kujo's room, but to a guest room. Still in a kimono. After Toru Watanabe changed, he didn't want to go to the living room. Facing a group of rich ladies who were the same age as his mother was not a good thing. He didn't know if he could visit other places, so he slipped into Miki Kujo's room. He was taken advantage of in the car just now, and now was the time for revenge. In addition to still flow, there were 6 middle-aged women in kimonos at the door, just like in a drama. Still flow reached out to stop Toru Watanabe. Mrs. taking a shower and changing clothes, no one can go in. I'm not anyone. With that, Toru Watanabe took a step forward. Silent Stream immediately used a rib strike with the wind. Miss Still Flow, you're no match for me. Toru Watanabe easily restrained her left hand. Still Flow took out a pistol and aimed at him. Although it was a bit unexpected, Toru Watanabe was not afraid of a pistol at such a close distance. When he was about to fight back, a middle-aged woman in kimono who looked like the leader said, "Young Master Watanabe, I'm very sorry, it's not that we don't want you to go in, but Miss doesn't like other people looking at her body." Not even me? The middle-aged woman didn't answer. Fine. You see, Miss Still Flow, why didn't you explain earlier? Why did you have to use force? Toru Watanabe acted as if Shizuru was in the wrong. He let go of Shizuru's hand and obediently took a few steps back. What's the noise outside? Miki Kujo's slightly angry voice came from the room. Miss Young Master Watanabe is here. A sneer came from inside. Let him in. The servant and Still Flow were all stunned, and their movements paused. Toru Watanabe didn't want to go in, he wanted to take them by surprise, but now Miki Kujo must have figured out how to deal with him. Only a fool would go in. It's okay, I'll wait for you outside. Toru Watanabe shouted. Get in. The servant opened the door halfway, and Toru Watanabe was very embarrassed. Breaking in by himself and being ordered by a woman was the difference between having dignity and not having dignity. But a real man knew when to yield, and when to stand tall. Which person who really wanted to achieve great things didn't suffer a little. Toru Watanabe stepped in. Hearing the sound outside the door, it meant that Miki Kujo had taken a bath, and now she was wearing a kimono in front of a mirror as big as a door. It wasn't the bright and noble red that stunned Toru Watanabe last time, but a light purple kimono decorated with Kujo vines and goldfish, very summery. What are you doing there? Come here. Toru Watanabe walked over. She had already put on her undershirt, and there was nothing he could take advantage of. Miki Kujo handed him a belt. Put it on for me. How can I? Start learning now. When we get married in the future, all my clothes will be put on by you. Miki Kujo said matter-of-factly. At least you can wear your own clothes, right? Why don't you ask them to come in and help you? Miki Kujo stretched out her hand, gesturing for Toru Watanabe to return the belt to her. Toru Watanabe immediately put the belt in her little hand. I'll teach you how to wrap it. No need, I don't want to learn. Miki Kujo wrapped the belt with the fragrance around Toru Watanabe's neck, once, twice. Wait. I had a flash of inspiration just now. I think I can do it. Miki Kujo smiled with an I can't teach you a lesson smile. She let go of the belt, turned her back to Toru Watanabe, and opened her arms. Come. Which side is outside? The pattern. How long is it? My left hand is short, almost touching the tatami. Oh, and then? After repeating the process countless times, Toru Watanabe was almost sweating profusely before he finally managed to wrap the belt in a way that wasn't too ugly. As for the bow that symbolized an unmarried girl, he really couldn't do anything about it. Miki Kujo finished tying the bow for herself, sat in front of the dressing table, and tied up her hair in front of the small mirror. Toru Watanabe looked at her from left to right in boredom, and gradually his attention was attracted by the snow-white nape of her neck. What are you looking at? Miki Kujo looked at him in the mirror and asked. I'm learning how to wrap my hair. Miki Kujo laughed contemptuously. Toru Watanabe was full of energy, which was a good thing for her. But because of this, she needed to watch him carefully, in case she wanted to kill him. Toru Watanabe reflected deeply on himself, remembered history, and would never give up on revenge. Miki Kujo tied up her hair and said to the door, Come in. The servant outside walked in quietly, and started to pack up the clothes that Miki Kujo changed out of after the shower. Miki Kujo stood up and looked at herself in the mirror. After confirming that there were no major problems, she walked out of the door. Wait a moment. Toru Watanabe picked up the comb on the dressing table, and combed his hair that was messed up because of fighting with Shizuru and bending down to fix the belt. Pinching his bangs, he looked at Miki Kujo and said, "Am I handsome?" "Yes, yes," Miki Kujo said perfunctorily. "Will your mother hate my hairstyle?" Miki Kujo narrowed her eyes. "So you like mature women like my mother?" "Wait, you're too strange. Because she's your mother, I care what she thinks." "No need. You can do whatever I like, understand? Other women's opinions don't matter, including mine and yours. Miki, you have the final say." Miki Kujo rubbed Toru Watanabe's hair and made it messy again. But because he was very handsome, it looked like a styling. "Miss, what should we do with the comb?" a servant in charge of cleaning up the dressing table asked. Kujo glanced at the comb that Toru Watanabe used and said, "Leave it there." "Yes," Toru Watanabe said. "Miki, if you're obsessed with cleanliness, just throw it away. Don't worry about me." "You mean you want me to cut off my legs and waist?" Miki Kujo showed a horrified expression. "Do you want to die?" "No way. Miki, you're too weird." "You don't like me? Shizuru, take him." "Wait. This what I mean is." Looking at Toru Watanabe's panicked expression, Miki Kujo showed a contemptuous smile. "I'll remember this. Let's go." Toru Watanabe wiped the non-existent sweat on his head. "Why did I come to Miki Kujo's room? Is this the curse that even a wise man is bound to make a mistake?" Chapter 92. Is there another tea party today? Toru Watanabe asked Miki Kujo on the way to the reception room. It was clearly the corridor outside the house, but at this moment, where the sun dyed the sky red and shone directly, there was no heat at all. Toru Watanabe wondered if there was an air conditioner hidden in the corner. The design of rich people was unimaginable. "My mother values traditional festivals very much. Or rather, she likes to invite people to gatherings." Miki Kujo looked straight ahead. She walked quietly, but there was an unstoppable force. She looked like the general's wife at the beginning of a historical drama. It was obvious that she was not a female villain to be trifled with. "Not bad," Toru Watanabe agreed. "I hate Valentine's Day, Halloween, and Christmas the most. They're all tools for capitalists to cheat money." Miki Kujo glanced at him. "I'm also a capitalist." "No, Miki, you're a noble." Toru Watanabe would rather be associated with feudalism than with capitalists. "Smooth talker." Miki Kujo gently pinched Toru Watanabe's waist. When they arrived at the main hall, which was so big that they did not know where to sit, Mother Gyosho and a few other ladies were looking at a pot of bamboo with lush green leaves in the middle of the hall. Rin Kiyono's mother was among them. Miki Kujo told her about inviting Rin Kiyono. "That child is as stubborn as ever." Kiyono's mother reprimanded helplessly and didn't say anything else. Kujo's mother noticed Miki Kujo's unsightly belt. "Why did you come out dressed like that? Watanabe's technique is bad." Miki Kujo smiled and pushed the blame to Toru Watanabe, who was staring at the bamboo. Toru Watanabe was speechless. Kiyono's mother laughed like a young girl and said to Kujo's mother in a gossipy manner, "Miki has already decided on her future husband." Kujo's mother released the long bamboo leaf in her hand, and the bamboo branch bounced back. She smiled and said in a good mood, "I don't know about her." The adults around them all looked at Miki Kujo teasingly. If there's no accident, it should be. Miki Kujo wasn't embarrassed at all. When she said this, the rich ladies immediately became interested. They began to talk about when and where to get married, and when to have children after marriage. Toru Watanabe absent-mindedly counted the number of bamboo segments. After experiencing intimate contact, he admitted that he had thoughts about Miki Kujo's body. From this point of view, men were really hopeless idiots. However, he was determined and would never forget his hatred because of beauty and wealth. Moreover, with Miki Kujo's personality, there was a high probability that she treated him as a toy. The reason she brought him home was probably to use him as a shield, so that the elders wouldn't bother her with marriage. It was absolutely impossible for the two of them to get married. Unless Toru Watanabe reached the age where he had to get married, in order not to arouse Miki Kujo's suspicion, he wouldn't quickly grow strong enough to resist her, And Miki Kujio didn't get tired of him. Only then would the two of them have a chance to get married. But how much effort do I have to put in to become strong enough to go against the Kujio clan, who has been accumulating power for hundreds of years, in just a few short years when the system is so weak? Someone tell me quickly. It's really urgent. In addition, the bamboo had 12, 9, and 7 segments. There was even one with 25 segments. Was it Buddhist bamboo? If it was sugar cane, there was no way it could be sold. Rin, what do you think? Miki Kujo smiled as she asked Toru Watanabe, who was spacing out. Ah, that's pretty good. In this year's name survey, he's number 1 among the males. Run, full name Kujo Run, was the name of Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo's unborn child. In such a short time, these women had already thought of everything for the wedding, and had already started naming their children. Number 1? That's too cheap. Kujo's mother muttered, and thought very seriously. What about Shinai? Kiyono's mother suggested. I think we should call him Shoshi, Miki Kujo said. Kujo's mother looked up. Is it from the ancestors of Kujo Lai Sheng and Kujo Lai Si? Yes. Miki Kujo nodded. Very domineering. Not bad, not bad. Kujo's mother seemed very satisfied. Miki was such a domineering name. She was definitely the one who came up with it. Then let's call the second child Shinai. Kiyono's mother suggested again, unwilling to give up. It seemed that she was quite fond of the name Shinai. By the way, Kujo Lai Sheng and Kujo Lai Si were the 2 generals of the Kamakura shogunate. As the sky darkened, a number of madams in gorgeous kimonos arrived one after another. Toru Watanabe adjusted his slightly numb knees and swallowed his 4th yawn. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Rin Kiyono walk in. After finishing the music club activity early, she should have gone back to take a shower and change her clothes. Right now, she was wearing an aqua blue kimono embroidered with a snow-white swallow. Her long black hair, which was like 0.5 mm lead powder, was tied up high at the back of her head and fixed with a hairpin inlaid with gems. Toru Watanabe stared at her thin waist, which was tied up by her belt. Rin Kiyono vaguely glared at him, then respectfully went to greet the madams. Sigh, he was actually looking at how well her belt was tied up. He had no other intentions. The Chinese Valentine's Day party was very boring. No, it should be said that the madam's Chinese Valentine's Day party was very boring. They ate festive food, wrote waka, and talked about tea, flowers, and incense. Toru Watanabe felt a headache coming on. Miki Kujo was a very scary woman. Whether it was waka, tea, flowers, or incense, she was able to talk with the madams. He turned his gaze to Rin Kiyono, who was also very bored. From the conversation just now, she should have some understanding of waka, tea, and so on. But because of her cold personality, she didn't seem to be liked by the madams. Toru Watanabe guessed that the main reason was that she could tell when others were lying. At the same time, she also didn't know how to lie. A harmonious atmosphere didn't need such a person. For example, if one of the madams here actually didn't know much about waka, wouldn't it be very awkward if she pointed it out? Noticing Toru Watanabe's gaze, Rin Kiyono's gaze moved away from the pastries on her plate. Watanabe-san, please at least cover up your vulgar gaze. She warned him in a low voice. Vulgar? I'm sorry, but I'm a sage right now. When did sages become so cheap? Forget it. Then, Mr. Sage, how long are you going to stare at my body? Toru Watanabe looked meaningfully at Rin Kiyono. Good girl, not like a certain idiot senpai or the Kujo queen who's rusty with her legs. I'm not looking at your body, I'm looking at fate. Lies. Fate told me, Kiyono-san, your first child in the future will be called God's Leaf. Toru Watanabe said solemnly. Rin Kiyono felt helpless about Toru Watanabe's tendency to tell lies that could be seen through in a second. Let's not talk about whether or not I'll have a child. Even if I do, I won't give him a name like God's Leaf, which is as inexplicable as Kamen Rider 555. Rin. Mother? Rin Kiyono looked at her mother's stern gaze in confusion. Toru Watanabe laughed out loud. Miki Kujo's gaze swept over, and Toru Watanabe instantly stopped laughing and took a sip of tea as if nothing had happened. Yep, it's hot and hot. There's no such thing as a genius. I'm just learning from my mistakes and applying what I've learned. Toru Watanabe gently blew on the tea, and beautiful ripples appeared on the surface of the tea. Halfway through the gathering, Kujo's mother suggested that everyone write down their wishes for Chinese Valentine's Day and hang them on the bamboo trees. What should we wish for? How about not aging anymore? Getting younger and younger? I hope that my child will be able to share his father's work as soon as possible. And I also want to hold a grandson. I hope that every year from now on will be as peaceful as this year. As the ladies chatted, the 3 boys and girls were also discussing. Miss Kiyono, how about wishing that you'll continue to be number 1 in your grade? Miki Kujo kindly suggested. Not bad. How about Kujo's wish that you'll be number 1 in your exams? Rin Kiyono responded with a smile. The two of them stared at each other with lightning in their eyes. Watanabe-san, how about you wish that you'll be number 1 in your exams? Rin Kiyono still held a grudge against Seiji for what had just happened, and her tone was unfriendly. You can rely on yourself for this kind of thing. Oh my, you've been number 3 5 times in a row, including since the beginning of the school year. I really admire your courage. Rin Kiyono, who loved to speak the truth, mocked Seiji without holding back. Do you mean that you can easily surpass me? Miki Kujo smiled dangerously. Why are the two of you always united when you're against me? Isn't it too strange? Speaking of which, Seiji began to divert his attention. The cowherd and the weaver girl can only see each other once a year. Do they really have the ability to grant human wishes? They're gods. Even if they're poor, they can still grant human wishes easily. Take me for example. Even if I don't study much, I can still surpass Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono rested her chin on her hand, thinking about what to wish for as she casually responded. That last sentence was unnecessary. Toru Watanabe skillfully retorted. Aren't the two of you a little too close? Miki Kujo's eyes were filled with murderous intent. How should I put it? Rin Kiyono picked up a pen and wrote on a short piece of paper. It's not good, but it's not bad either. It's just average. Since Rin Kiyono never lied, Miki Kujo only squinted at Toru Watanabe for a while and didn't pursue the matter. Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, he felt a little upset. Didn't you say that you were friends when I helped you a while ago? Now you're saying that your relationship is ordinary? Although he never asked for anything, Toru Watanabe still hoped to become friends with a special existence who never lied. He could only blame himself for having expectations and imposing his own opinions on Rin Kiyono. Served him right for being disappointed in the end. Sad. Your name is narcissism. Toru Watanabe looked at the leafy bamboo in the middle of the room. Although they were indoors, a wind came out of nowhere. Perhaps it was the air conditioner, and made the leaves rustle. It felt cool in the summer. Love Mickey until we're old. It wasn't like his wish would actually come true. Miki Kujo, who didn't know what privacy was, directly took Toru Watanabe's short piece of paper. Seeing the wish written in what seemed to be a regular script on a practice book, she let out a satisfied sound. What did you write? Toru Watanabe asked her. Hang it up for me. Miki Kujo handed her short piece of paper along with Toru Watanabe's. Squeezed Toru Watanabe dry. Miss, is it really appropriate to write this kind of wish? Are you shy? Or? Miki Kujo leaned closer and pretended to whisper. She gently bit Toru Watanabe's earlobe. Do you remember what happened just now? Her toes twitched in her white stockings. Haha, don't worry. The only people who can see are you and my mother. His ear was itchy, and his saliva was very dirty. Cowherd and weaver girl, you wouldn't really be so free as to fulfill a mortal's wish, right? While hanging the short piece of paper on the bamboo leaf, Toru Watanabe whispered to Rin Kiyono. Kiyono, I want to test you with a question. Which 2 stars are Cowherd and Weaver Girl? The second River Drum and the first Weaver Girl are the bright stars of Aquila and Lyra respectively. Very well, Cowherd and Weaver Girl, listen up, I already know your house number. If you really dare to fulfill your wish, be careful that I'll blow you up in my spaceship in my old age. Although he didn't believe in superstitions, Toru Watanabe still prayed silently in his heart just in case. After all, even the system had it. What if there really was a god? It was important to be wary of the stars. When Toru Watanabe sent the warning letter to the cowherd and weaver girl 25 light-years away and 16 light-years away, Rin Kiyono's voice was as shy as a mosquito's. Actually, other than my mother, I don't have a good relationship with everyone. So, her voice became softer and softer. Although our relationship is normal, in my heart, you're already number 2. Oh, I know. Girls were really two treacherous creatures. Also, there was really no need to be so honest. Saying such words so bluntly made the listener feel too shy. Toru Watanabe secretly glanced at the note she hung up. It was written in neat words. Prohibit the whole world from lying. Is this girl an idiot? But Toru Watanabe let out a huge sigh of relief. Not to mention the cowherd and weaver girl. Even the queen mother couldn't stop the whole world from lying. He definitely wouldn't be squeezed dry, right? But it seemed like this matter only needed Miki Kujo to think about it herself. In any case, he couldn't let his guard down against women. Starting tomorrow, he would eat nutritious food. After writing the note, Kujo's mother organized a small fireworks event. Everyone sat in the corridor, surrounded by all kinds of fruits and tea. The fireworks went on for a full 15 minutes. It was very beautiful. Thinking about the summer training for the blowing club, and that he had to stay in Tokyo anyway, Toru Watanabe decided that he had to go to the summer festival to see the real fireworks event. What are you thinking about? Miki Kujo, who was sitting beside him, suddenly asked. The summer festival. Toru Watanabe replied without thinking. He turned his face and looked at Miki Kujo's pretty face lit up by the fireworks. He smiled proudly and said, I'm not bragging, but I'm the #1 goldfish fisherman in the village. It's not that I'm bragging. Sounds like bragging. Toru Watanabe put his hands behind his back and stretched lazily. He complained, Can't you give your boyfriend some face? No. Under the fireworks, Miki Kujo refused with a devilish smile. Chapter 93. At 9 o'clock on Sunday night, Tokyo Station was still crowded. Toru Watanabe, who was wearing a shirt, was reading Don Quixote, that he borrowed from Rin Kiyono. His expression was serious, and he occasionally looked up at the ticket gate. While studying hard, he also wanted to make people feel embarrassed to disturb him. The reason was simple. The night wind from the Shinkansen tram that entered and left the station would blow his natural long hair. At this time, there would be girls who were obsessed with him asking for lines. Well, in fact, it had nothing to do with the tram or whether his hair was blown by the night wind. It was mainly because he was too handsome. Toru Watanabe memorized an unfamiliar Spanish word and was ready to go back and look it up. He looked up at the ticket gate again. A dark-skinned, thin and delicate woman attracted his attention. The woman looked around the station. When she saw Toru Watanabe, her face immediately bloomed with a smile. Toru Watanabe also couldn't help but smile, which charmed the people around him. He closed the book and walked toward the woman. Mom. Toru Watanabe greeted her and reached out his hand. Xiaoche. Watanabe-ji handed the lighter paper bag to Toru Watanabe. She was still carrying the heavier red Boston bag. Why did you bring so many things? Toru Watanabe opened the paper bag. There were tender corn, green beans, radishes, and other seasonal vegetables wrapped in shells. There was also a bottle of jam that he made himself. These things can be bought. It's troublesome to bring them here, he said. How can Tokyo's vegetables be better than homegrown vegetables? That's true. Toru Watanabe was too lazy to say that vegetables that don't taste good can't survive in a big city, or something like that. Arguing with the elders, especially his mother, was a waste of time. It was better to just accept it. Besides, the things were already brought here. Now he just needed to thank them properly. The two had just taken 2 steps when Toru Watanabe told his mother that he would put the things in his rented apartment first, and then take her to dinner. A woman in a suit stopped them. Hello, do you have a firm? Firm. Toru Watanabe was puzzled. If you don't, please consider our club. The woman handed over a business card. Written on it were the words, Janus Associates, Keiko Shiraise. There was also a string of phone numbers. Kajiko Shiraise looked at Toru Watanabe and spoke in an exaggerated tone of praise for a work of art. Our firm needs a face like yours. If you sign a contract with us, I guarantee that in terms of resources. Toru Watanabe was still wondering why a man in his 30s would ask for a line like a young girl. Thank you. I have no plans to debut as an artist, Toru Watanabe said as he gestured to his mother and quickly left. If you want to, please make sure to call the number on the business card. The mother and son arrived at the platform of the Maruchi line. Watanabe-ji held the title of the film and teased, "Isn't it good to be an artist? Just like Kitano Takeshi." How is he like Kitano Takeshi? No matter what, he is still Takuya Kimura. Toru Watanabe retorted unhappily. Tasaka-kun, Mummy is waiting for him to get a divorce. I will tell Dad about this. Your dad is also waiting for his Shizuka-chan to get a divorce. Right. Tasaka-kun is also an artist under Janus Associates. Little Che, you should debut. Get an autograph for Mummy. We'll talk about it later. Toru Watanabe gave a perfunctory reply and looked at his watch. The next tram would arrive in 5 minutes. What do you mean by later? When exactly? If I don't get into Tokyo University, I will debut and get an autograph for you. Toru Watanabe promised. If you don't want to help, just say it. Why do you have to be so perfunctory? Mummy is not forcing you. However, getting Tasaka-kun's autograph was Mummy's unfulfilled dream when I was young. Now son, you can help me. Blah 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 blah. Toru Watanabe casually agreed with his mother's words. Watanabe probably didn't expect her son to debut as an idol for her. She kept talking about how handsome Takuya Kimura was when he was young. Clank clank clank. The lights were getting closer and closer. The tram that saved Toru Watanabe arrived at the platform. I'll go grab a seat. Toru Watanabe interrupted his mother, who was still talking to herself. He squeezed into the crowd and rushed to get on the carriage. After getting on the tram, Watanabe finally quieted down. She curiously gazed at the moat and the kokyo in the night. Toru Watanabe put his things in the rental room, washed his sweaty face, and took his mother to a decent restaurant. It's expensive here, right? Watanabe quietly looked around the bright and spacious hall. It's okay. I work to make money, so I can afford to be extravagant once in a while. After ordering the main course, Toru Watanabe thought that women liked to eat desserts. Since his mother had been living in the countryside, she didn't have the opportunity to eat desserts, so he ordered some fashionable pastries and an ice cream set with 8 flavors. Soon, an elegant waiter brought out the beautifully arranged food and pastries. Watanabe wanted to leave the pastries and ice cream for Toru Watanabe, but he repeatedly said that he couldn't finish them. She only started eating. You're much more mature than before. Going to school in Tokyo is quite effective, Watanabe said as she ate. What does it have to do with Tokyo? I didn't have money before. If I had money, I would have treated you to a meal. The mother and son chatted casually. You're a bit fatter. You look more energetic. You were too thin before. Yes. Did you make any friends? 2 or 3. What about your girlfriend? There's one. Is it a classmate? Tell me about her, and her picture. This kind of thing needs to be approved, right? I'll tell you after I discuss it with her. That's true. You must respect the girl's opinion. Watanabe nodded solemnly. Understood. After breakfast, the mother and son walked back. The next morning, when Toru Watanabe woke up, his mother was already stirring the vegetable salad and stewing the soup in the pot. So early? Going for a run. Watanabe was surprised and looked at Toru Watanabe with disbelief. Toru Watanabe ignored her and said, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Then he put on his shoes and went out. Remember to buy 2 cartons of milk. His mother ordered from behind. After breakfast, Toru Watanabe repeated the time of the interview. Then he picked up his bag and yawned as he left the house. He had to send his mother back in the afternoon, so he probably wouldn't participate in any club activities, so he didn't bring his oboe. Perhaps it was retribution for cutting the line last night. Toru Watanabe didn't have a seat in the morning, so he had to hold on to the suspension and his body swayed along with the tram. After the morning class, considering that Toru Watanabe's house was far away, Aona Koizumi arranged for him to be the first to attend the interview. Unlike the guys who didn't do well in exams and made mistakes in school, Toru Watanabe was very calm about the interview. Anyway, Aona Koizumi promised him that she wouldn't tell his mother about him peeking at girls' measurements and learning how to calculate girls' measurements. So what was there to be afraid of? Actually, it didn't matter if she told him. At most he would be laughed at for a while when he returned to the village. It was a good opportunity to practice his ability to not care about other people's opinions. In the empty classroom, there were only 3 desks. Toru Watanabe looked at the tree leaves that were illuminated by the sun outside the window, while listening to Aona Koizumi and his mother's conversation. Hello, Watanabe's mother. Hello, Koizumi. Our family's little Che has troubled you. Watanabe is very sensible and hardworking. The other teachers and I like him very much. You're welcome. After the greetings, the formal interview began. Have you decided on the direction of your studies? Yes, this child has always wanted to go to Tokyo University. What kind of career do you want to pursue? What are your dreams? Debut as an idol and become an outstanding artist like Takato Koen. Is that so? Aona Koizumi was surprised. That's your dream, Mom. Toru Watanabe rested his elbows on the desk and rested his chin on his hand as he complained weakly. Then what's your dream? What kind of career do you want to pursue? Watanabe asked. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, it won't be Takuya Kimura's autographed photo. The 15-year-old Toru Watanabe would tell everyone that he wanted to become a qualified Tokyo handsome guy. But he was already 16 years old, and had learned a lot from Rin Kiyono. One of them was, before you succeed in something, you must remain calm and collected, but your heart must be filled with excitement. Sit properly. Koizumi-sensei is still here. You don't know how to sit properly. Watanabe seemed to be a little angry as she reprimanded him. No, it's completely fine. It makes the teacher very happy that a student can be so relaxed in front of the teacher. Aona Koizumi smiled as she tried to persuade him. Watanabe smiled apologetically at Aona Koizumi and unhappily glared at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but purse his lips. After the interview, Watanabe said that she wanted to visit his club. Of course, she couldn't go to the music club. Toru Watanabe was afraid of being reported, so he had to bring his mother to the human observation department. Oh, you're here. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono, who was listening to music by the window. Yes. Rin Kiyono was flipping through the music score and didn't raise her head as she answered. They wanted to talk face to face, so I let them practice by themselves. Watanabe quietly pulled her son's school uniform. This is your girlfriend? You can say that. You're talking nonsense. Rin Kiyono raised her head, and was startled when she saw Watanabe. She immediately stood up. Hello. Hello, I'm Toru's mother. Hello, Auntie, I'm Rin Kiyono. I'm not your son's girlfriend. When I said girlfriend, I meant a female friend. Why are you in such a hurry? Rin Kiyono glared at Toru Watanabe and politely said to Watanabe's mother, Auntie, please take a seat. I'll bring you some tea. Thank you. Watanabe sat on the sofa with a smile. Although he didn't know if Miki Kujo would mind his mother sitting on her sofa, it would be troublesome to pull her up now. So Toru Watanabe decided that if Miki Kujo got angry later, he would just lick her shoes as an apology. Just kidding. While Rin Kiyono was boiling water and making tea, Watanabe kept winking at Toru Watanabe. But unfortunately, Toru Watanabe didn't have the ability to read the old auntie's eyes. He had no idea what she was trying to say. Messages such as the couple is putting on an act, don't think I can't tell, and so on, were all misinterpreted by him due to the noon sun on the way here. After Aunt Watanabe took the steaming tea from Rin Kiyono's hands, she gave up trying to pretend to be mother and son with her son. Linjan, does Toru give you any trouble? No, Watanabe is very conscientious in club activities. Toru Watanabe was sure that the trouble his mother was talking about was definitely not club activities. I see. I was worried that this child doesn't know how to do anything except study. Toru Watanabe was unhappy. Nothing is too much, right? I'm quite confident in planting potatoes. Recently, I've also learned how to play the oboe. Watanabe completely ignored her son. She blew at the tea, took a sip, and asked Rin Kiyono, "Are you getting along well?" Under the gaze of Watanabe's mother, Rin Kiyono looked away unnaturally and stared at the corner of the sofa. "It's very interesting." After whispering, she felt that her face was hot as if it had been scorched by the sun. She wasn't sure if her face was red, and she didn't want to confirm it. That's good. I'm relieved." Watanabe's young face showed a gratified smile like an old woman. Toru Watanabe couldn't stand it anymore. "Mom, she's really not my girlfriend. I was just joking." "What?" Itsuki Watanabe was shocked. Why? What do you mean why?" "I think Linjan is very cute." "No, she's very cute. I really want her to be my son's girlfriend." Toru Watanabe was speechless. If things in the world could be done just by thinking, there wouldn't be famine and the gap between the rich and the poor. "Watanabe-san, do you mean that I'm not cute?" Rin Kiyono stared at Toru Watanabe with cold eyes. Toru Watanabe could understand her insistence on her appearance being cute, but did he mean that she wasn't cute? "I'm talking about my mom's last words." "Then, do you mean that I'm not qualified to be your girlfriend?" "That's what I mean." "Isn't it?" "That's exactly what I heard." Forget it. I'll do whatever you say." "Toru Watanabe is a puppy. Please become a puppy, Watanabe-san." "I'll try to work harder in my next life." Watanabe-ji held her teacup and laughed happily for some reason. She was full of the cheerfulness of a country bumpkin. "Oh, I'm sorry." Rin Kiyono's cold expression immediately turned red. Toru Watanabe said angrily, "Mom, your son is being bullied in school. How can you laugh?" "I just feel that Linjan is really cute." "Sai, why isn't she my wife? Do you have a girl who's better than Linjan?" "Auntie, I'm not being modest. To be honest, I don't," Rin Kiyono said firmly. "Wife. Daughter-in-law, right? As for excellence, there's a senior sister named Asako Hanada, who's very good." As soon as Toru Watanabe finished speaking, the two girls immediately looked at him with dissatisfaction. Watanabe-ji looked at Rin Kiyono. "Linjan, do you know Toru's girlfriend?" "Yes." "What kind of person is she?" "Arrogant, conceited, selfish, narcissistic, and hypocritical." Toru Watanabe explained. "Rin Kiyono is an idiot who only knows how to express her own subjective opinions. Don't worry about her. 3rd place in the grade. Forget it." Rin Kiyono decided to swallow her anger for the time being. After drinking tea, Watanabe-ji had to catch the bus, so the mother and son left the school. While waiting for the bus at Sigu Station, Watanabe-ji said proudly like a detective who had seen the truth of the matter, "Linjan has a lot of opinions about your girlfriend." "Everyone knows that." "Then do you know the reason?" "I really don't know, and I've never asked." "Maybe they don't like each other," Toru Watanabe added. "Rin Kiyono doesn't like anyone." Watanabe-ji patted her son's back hard. "You're still too young. Although I don't know what you're thinking, I can tell you that your son has absolutely nothing to do with what happened between the two of them." Watanabe-ji looked at her son's confident face and grinned for some reason. "What are you smiling about? I have a feeling that Linjan's high school life will be very happy." "Will it?" Mom nodded vigorously. "At least I think it will be very happy." "If only that were the case." "Happy? If it weren't for your son selling himself to survive, our family would have been over long ago. Although he was the one who caused all this." Toru Watanabe-ji looked at the track that was about to melt from the heat, and felt that it was about time for him. Summer in Tokyo was really hot. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.